Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Bruce Arians here with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During these difficult times, it's important that we all show we care about our community's health. You could spread COVID-19 without knowing it. Wear a mask, wash your hands, keep your distance from each other, stay strong, and go Bucs.
Realizing my potential has been what my career has been all about. Things that I've dreamed about have actually come true.
And the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
Things have happened in my life as I kind of hoped they would happen. It's been, just a complete evolution. You know, how I just kept kind of fighting and clawing to continue to power forward. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you keep trying to make progress. So when I look at over 20 years, I look how far I've come. But there's not one step that I took where I realized, look how far I've come. But those series of steps that I put together, I go, wow, that's quite a journey.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television live here nightly on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. On tonight's show, we'll have the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP, Channel 10, WFTS, Channel 28, coming on in just a little bit, talking about around the league, because this is not only your Buccaneer edition, but your pro football edition of the Sports Web. So we'll definitely talk some football with you. And then, of course, at 10 o'clock, we will have the other legend of the night, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions at Sports Mag. And then at 10:30, we will have Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. And then, of course, your phone calls, 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. As we always start off the Sports Web. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. In this edition of the Sports Web is brought to you by MyCannabisCard.com, the nation's first and largest cannabis card doctor network and home of the guaranteed fast-track cannabis card approval with our 2,500 state licensed doctors and 30-plus qualifying conditions. My Cannabis Card is by far the easiest and most effective way to secure your cannabis card as stress-free as possible in the comforts of your own home. Once again, that's mycannabiscard.com. Tell them the Sports Web Peter Blake and Bucs Report sent you. So without further ado, there is 24 days, ladies and gentlemen, until the NFL season starts. Are you feeling good about it? Are you feeling nice and excited about it? Let's go ahead and get Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. Of course, give out the phone number, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. 0391. Let's get him on here. Mr. Al Keck, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. And if you don't know, the Al Keck Show exclusively here on Bucs Report starting tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. It has been every Tuesday night. I got to promote this show because it's unbelievable. First of all, you've got a Rolodex of great guests. Who do you got coming up tomorrow night, Mr. Al Keck?
Oh, it'll be an amazing show tomorrow night. We lead off with Cameron Brate of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He took time from training camp to meet with us. We'll talk to him what it's really like to catch a pass from Tom Brady. Also tomorrow night, we will speak with Aaron Murray, the former quarterback at Plant High, won a state championship at Plant High in Tampa, went on to become one of the SEC's all-time leading passers at Georgia. We'll talk to him about that process. Drafted by Kansas City, bounced around a little bit as a backup, and then last year played as a starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Vipers, at least at the beginning of the season. We'll talk to him about all of that, along with Lynn Knowles, who can, if you are starting to feel those, shall we say, the COVID fat, there's something you can do about that. I've been on her program for 10 days. I've lost weight, and I feel incredible.
Nice. Well, I'm kind of interested in that because the COVID pounds have kind of hit me just a little bit. Maybe it's too many chicken wings and cheeseburgers and stuff like that. But
well, what if it was? I mean, here's the key, and I don't want to take up a whole lot of time with this because that'll be tomorrow night. But you know, the key is drinking ketones. Ketones are an energy source that really help your body, and your body craves them. And it's something that, you know, when earlier in human civilization, you know, people were in ketosis all the time. You know, now since we've started to eat a lot of processed food, a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar, that takes you out of the ketosis. And so you're just not as bright at thinking. You're not have as much energy, you know, all that stuff. That's the beauty of this. And the great part of it is if you use it, watch your carbs, you know, a side process of this. It's a way to take a little bit of fat off. My pants fit so much better than they have in a year and a half. And I'm only 10 days in. Nice.
Well, congratulations on that. Once again, the Al Keck Show tomorrow night at 9 o'clock here on Bucs Report. So
Cam Brate,
yeah,
Aaron Murray. How many people get Cam Brate? I mean, there you go, one-on-one. We've got him one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not tuning in for that, then what are you tuning in for? Reality shows, politics. I see Matt Colston turning into politics. Why? Why do you want to drive yourself insane? If you want to drive yourself insane, sports insane, then definitely tune into the Al Keck Show and, of course, the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Like I said, 24 days, first day for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and padded practices. And all you hear right now is the comments about Tom Brady, how good he looks. We talked about this on Friday night, Al. Peter King saying, hey, wait a minute, Tom Brady actually may have an arm. He's gone in the offseason to strengthen it. You hear nothing but good things coming out of Bucs camp. And really, this is what we kind of thought was going to happen, right? With Brady coming in and all the expectations.
You know, all this talk, oh, Brady can't throw anymore. He can't go deep. He can't do this. He can't do that. Well, the very first pass today in practice, 11 on 11, was a bomb, 60 yards. And they called it dropping a dime to Scotty Miller. Miller made the catch. So believe me, this Buccaneer defense knows that Tom Brady can go deep. And so Tom Brady had a good day in training camp, throwing the ball all over the yard. The Buccaneer defense was certainly impressed. And some of those young kids, those young defensive backs made some plays. A couple got some interceptions. But, when you look overall at what Tom Brady did on his first padded practice with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everyone said it was as advertised and as expected.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a lot of fans out there that are excited. And that's my question for you tonight. Are you feeling more excited about this? We went through the pandemic together. We're still going through it. We went through all the COVID lists. We've also went through the opt-outs. And now it just seems like it's less than a month away. Are you more excited about football season starting? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Want to mention this before we get into all the football. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning as they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets today 2-1 to take a commanding 3-1 lead in that best of 7 series, but they can end it in Game 5 on Wednesday. What are your thoughts on the Tampa Bay Lightning? Huge win today, right?
Well, it's a huge win because the Lightning has certainly had trouble with Columbus. And I think they've had trouble with their former coach, John Tortorella, because Torts certainly knows the franchise, even though none of these guys were with the Lightning when he was there. But here's the thing about Torts. His teams are tough. And when you face a team like that, you have to be ready to play a tough hockey game. Well, today, the Lightning won one of those tough hockey games, 2-1. They take that 3-1 advantage. So this is a key series for them, especially when you consider they got swept a year ago and they were easily the number 1 seed going into the playoffs, and a seed that everyone was talking about that put together one of the best regular seasons in the history of the National Hockey League. So, this Game 5 is going to be huge. And believe me, John Cooper doesn't want to mess around with this. He wants to win this Game 4 or this Game 5, get that 4th win, and move on to the next round.
Absolutely. Let's go out to the phone lines here. Michael from Illinois, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. What's on your mind tonight?
How you doing, Alan? How you doing, Mr. Peter?
I'm doing great, buddy.
Doing well.
Are you getting excited about the NFL season starting up in just 24 days? Of course, for Bucs fans, that would be 27 because September 10th is the beginning. Chiefs versus the Houston Texans on Thursday Night Football. And then after that, the big one, 4:25, Saints versus the Bucs. Breeze versus Brady.
Peter, first of all, let me tell you, I've kind of wanted to get this off my chest over the last couple of days, Peter.
Okay.
And I feel like even the New Orleans Saints are underestimating our Tampa Bay Buccaneers because Cam Jordan, first of all, you need to, first of all, I get it. I respect your competitiveness. I like that out of a player. I mean, that's Black Mamba mentality. So I like that. But second of all, we're not fighting for second place. Okay.
Oh, so you didn't like those comments that came out about I think it was about 2 weeks ago where he said Al, and we talked about this, and Michael, you got, and I think there was a lot of people who are offended. And what I don't really understand about this, guys, is the timing of it. The timing of it is so terrible. It's on Tom Brady's birthday. Here's the most competitive football player most likely in the league, even at 43 years old, and you're giving him bulletin board material. It just doesn't make any sense.
Let me explain why I feel this way.
Okay.
Because second of all, now I mean I'm not trying to dog Jameis Winston, and I'm really not. But first of all, we were fighting for second place when we had Jameis Winston, okay? But when you bring the GOAT in, we're fighting for first place, Cam Jordan. Second of all, you wouldn't have your Super Bowl, or he doesn't even have a Super Bowl, does he?
Who? Drew Brees?
Cam Jordan.
I don't believe Cam Jordan has a Super Bowl.
No.
So what the hell is he running his mouth for? Second of all, dude, you are, the Buccaneers really didn't need any more, bulletin board material. We didn't need none of that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We already knew what we were coming to season working with. Okay. And then you got sorry analysts like Rob Parker, Tom Brady's falling off a cliff, and including Max Kellerman, who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Some of these analysts, This is going to be a Peyton Manning-esque retirement go out for Tom Brady. And like I told my friend, I said, I don't care who believes it. You cannot like it. God cannot like it. But this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team will win a Super Bowl within these next 2 years. And I just don't like it that Cam Jordan had to come out and be disrespectful like that. Especially you call your quarterback the greatest quarterback. Oh,
yeah, I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Right, but I would expect him to have Drew Brees' back. I understand that, but
I get
right.
that. But
I know what
him
you're
in
saying.
his own mind, knows that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever to live.
Correct.
And here's the thing, Peter. He's from the University of Michigan. Okay, and you know me. I mean, I hate Michigan. I hate that team with a passion. But not to mind you, Peter, the last Michigan quarterback, when we won the Super Bowl, Brad Johnson was a Michigan quarterback.
No, Brad Johnson was an FSU quarterback. I got to correct you on
Michigan?
that. No, sir.
Or was that oh, no, sorry. I was thinking of Brian Greasy.
Yes, you're thinking of Brian Greasy. It's okay. I get what you're saying, though. They're both older quarterbacks. A lot of them left him for dead. A lot of people said Johnson couldn't get Gruden's offense. A lot of people are saying the same thing about Tom Brady. Can he get this offense?
People don't realize, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
These is what these folks don't realize. Okay, back in the day when the Bucs had the great defense that they had, okay, we had an offense that was average, really not even average if you think about it.
Sure.
Okay, and our defense is what carried us to a national championship, folks.
Well,
now we got both. Now we got both to feed on. And you got the greatest quarterback in history quarterbacking your team and the Super Bowls in Tampa, Florida. And I just can't wait till the beginning of the season because I'm going to tell you what, Peter, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is going to explode on the New Orleans Saints. And this is kind of like, and I'm not trying to like turn this out of Buccaneer talk, but I'm so upset because of my Buckeyes aren't playing college football this year. And you know, I think for me, I'm to the point to where if I get my Buccaneers football taken away from me, plus my Ohio State Buckeyes, who could have been in a contention for a national title, you could say the same for the Buccaneers. And if the NBA would have been taken, the Lakers would have been taken from me. So that would have been 3 of my sports teams in contention for a championship taken away. I just hope the Buccaneers are able to play this year, and I hope we're able to see Tom Brady, you know, compete with us this year and we win the Super Bowl. And I'm hoping for it, Peter, man, but I'm a little nervous too.
Well, don't be nervous. I don't know why a lot of fans are nervous. I think it's the expectation. So you're a little bit nervous about the expectations. Are you more nervous?
No. It's not about the expectations.
It's about the season.
It's about getting the season underway.
Okay. I get you. But it certainly seems like full steam ahead at this juncture. So we'll see how it works out. But college football.
Can I, before Al and Peter, who are you guys picking to win the NFC South?
I'm picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll just put it out there. Al Keck?
It doesn't matter who wins the NFC South. All that matters is who makes the playoffs. How you get in the playoffs.
Right.
It don't matter. By the way, talking about Cam Jordan's remarks, I asked Cameron Brate specifically about those remarks and what this team thought of that. He'll have his answer tomorrow night. It's interesting.
Yeah, you need to tune in, Michael, tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
Here's another thing. You might get a response from Cameron Brate, but the real answer is going to be when that Sunday kicks off. That's when the Buccaneers will answer the questions. That's when they will put a foot up in Drew Brees' ass, and then Cam Jordan. And here's the thing: if we go in and win a championship, and the funny thing about this is the New Orleans Saints to me have been the most overrated NFC South champion in history. And the reason being is because every time they got to the Super, besides the one time when they won the Super Bowl, but every time they get in the playoffs, they want to blame these referees or they want to blame because someone had such and this and that. Guys, it's not a league to where you should just complain and whine about what could have been and what should have been. Do you see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team who is the most losing franchise in NFL history? We're not complaining.
Well, I mean, it's a good point, but you look at the Saints and their talent the last couple of years, they've fallen short, so they definitely got some motivation, but you're exactly right. The expectations here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are at a high pitch. Anything else, Michael?
the last thing I will say, and I'm gonna head off of here, and I appreciate you guys for taking the time to listen to what I got to say.
Yeah.
Bucs fans, don't let these New Orleans Saints tell you that we can't compete with them. Don't let these analysts out there saying, "Oh, well, Tom Brady's 43 years old. He's this and that." Guys, Tom Brady went 12-4 last year with a team that had dog SH as receivers, and you're telling me that Tom Brady's not going to be able to have a 12-4 season with the talent that he's got? Rob Parker, Shannon Sharp, open your eyes. You can see I'm blind and visually impaired, and you guys are telling me that Tom Brady's not going to win with this team? Okay, go back and look at what he had last year. Thanks, Peter. Love your show. Love what you do. Al, I appreciate you too. And I'm just ready for the season.
All right, Michael, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate it. I mean, that's how you lead it off, Bucs fan. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Let's go back out to the phone lines here, Al. It's going to be one of those nights, I think. Welcome to the Evolution, y'all, with yours truly, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck.
Chris.
Hey, Chris, what's up?
Hey, not much, man. I mean, look, I put it on Twitter last week, I think, about Cam Jordan's comments. And it's like, weighing in before a fight and the two opponents talking trash to each other. That's all it was. Anyone in Cam Jordan's position is going to say the same thing as what Cam Jordan said. They're going to stick up for their teammates.
Right, I agree.
They're going to say they're the best. So really, I mean, it's just
the timing of it, though, is bad. Is it not on Tom Brady's birthday? I mean, isn't that one of the most motivational guys in the league? You want to make him more motivated?
Sure. I mean, the timing was bad, but would it make it less, if he said it the next day or the day before?
Well,
I just don't think it really, like, the timing matters, but I don't think really, because no matter what, he's going to be competitive. He's,
right.
He said he's one of the most competitive players in the NFL. So obviously, I don't think the timing really matters. And I just, I mean, that's expected. I mean, Cam Jordan had 15 and a half sacks last year. Their team won the division 3 years in a row. They're on the cusp of a Super Bowl, so they think. And so, I mean,
so Chris, are you worried? Are you worried at this point for this season starting on time, or are you feeling good about it? Are you feeling positive? Only 24 days to go until the season officially starts. Are you feeling good about it?
This train isn't stopping, in the words of Walter White.
Okay. Okay.
It's happening. And I called him a month ago, and I think a lot of people were really feeling kind of down about the way the NFL, some of their protocols weren't, simple questions weren't being answered among the players and the league. But now that you've seen it out, the last few weeks since training camp started, the testing, the low amount of positive results, a lot of the things have been a lot better than what I highly anticipated. I thought from the get-go there would be a lot of positive tests, and it just hasn't been that. Now, am I worried when teams start traveling a little bit? Yes. But I think, as long as they're being responsible, then there shouldn't be, they're not pulling a Marlins or an Arizona or St. Louis Cardinals, going out to strip clubs and casinos or whatever.
Right.
As long as the players are being responsible and the teams are holding their players accountable, then I don't think we'll have a big issue with the season stopping.
Okay.
So more optimistic than what I was.
All right. Good stuff.
And to Al Keck's point, I think it does matter when the division when you win the division, you're likely going to be a number 1 or number 2 seed versus just being a wild card. I would rather be a number 1 or number 2 seed, get in that bye week, and not, playing, 4 games now or 3 games to get to the Super Bowl?
Correct. Right. So, yeah. I mean, does he have a point here with the new playoff system? You're allowing one team in each conference. You really do want to secure that number 1 seed, Al, because even the number 2 seed still gets you a wild card game, which in the past it was usually the 1 and the 2. Now it's only the 1. So it's really that important to get a number 1 seed, right?
No. You want to get in the playoffs. Now, there are a lot of things you'd like. I'd like to have a Twinkie every day for the rest of my life, but I'm not going to get that. Okay. And as far as Cam Jordan's concerned, Yeah, he's going to say what he said, but you don't have to go to the extreme that he said.
Correct.
You don't have to say Drew Brees is the greatest quarterback of all time. Now, he's got some decent numbers, absolutely, and he's won one Super Bowl. But can he match? Does anybody outside of New Orleans really believe that Drew Brees is a better quarterback than Tom Brady? Okay, you don't need to go there. The other thing is, you don't need to make such a big point out of saying the Buccaneers are playing for second place. Okay? If it happens, it happens. You could be 11-5, 12-4, and end up in second place in the NFC South. Okay? Would that really make that big a difference? Not really. You want to make the playoffs, because if there's anything that we have seen over the years, it's that there are two seasons in the NFL. There's the regular season and there are the playoffs. And they don't have that much in common. And so get to the playoffs, whatever the record is, and start playing your best football at the end of the year, because when the Bucs won their Super Bowl, that's when they started playing their best football of the year. And so many times, how many times, who was on Chris? I mean, Chris was talking about the Saints. I mean, how many times have we seen the Saints set the world on fire the first half of the season, and then they get towards the end of the season and they disappear, and they make it a very uneventful sayonara in the playoffs, with the exception of that one bad call that probably cost them a trip to the Super Bowl. So listen, in this year, 2020, with COVID and everything else going on, it doesn't matter. Get to the playoffs, play as well as you can at that point, and see where it all shakes out. Because if you're playing well at the end of the year, there's a good chance for this Buccaneer team anyway, with this team starting to come together, that they could be the first team to play a Super Bowl in their home building.
It's a good point. I see the importance of the number one seed, because you want to play less playoff games and you want that home field advantage. But you're right. Anything can happen in this 2020. Chris, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think the rest in itself is just really important.
Oh, hold on a sec. Go ahead, Chris.
On NFL Network.
Okay.
The same question that Cam Jordan was asked. Would you expect a different answer, and would you applaud it? Being, I don't know if you're a Bucs fan, but I know you've covered the Bucs for a long time.
Sure.
But I mean, we would all be applauding it. But now our division rival says it, and now we're all he went over the top. He said this. I just think it's comical. It's like or whatever. I just think it's funny, and I think it has absolutely no bearing on what's going to happen throughout the season and who's going to win the division. I mean, you can talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk. And this may not be the Matador Bucs that over the years we were.
Yeah, no, but I definitely think there's some effect with a player like a Tom Brady getting that bulletin board material, especially on his birthday. Good stuff, Chris. Thanks a lot. We got to run. We got somebody else on hold. We'll give you use that second call that you got, okay? All right, man. Thanks a lot. There you go. Let's go out to the phone lines here. Let's go out to Curtis. Curtis, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Mr. Al Keck.
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing today?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I wanted to comment on what you guys were talking about. Al, you're 100% right. It doesn't matter, especially with the whole COVID-19 thing, because home field advantage, what does that mean if you don't have any fans in the stand?
Well, that's true, but we have not heard yet, guys, if the Bucs are going to have fans or not. We hear there's rumors. Has there been an official announcement where they're going to allow Al and fans in the stands at this point?
No. And the Saints announced last week they won't have fans in the stands for the first game. Right. If there was a game where the Saints wanted to have fans in the stands, it was going to be for this game. Yeah. And it is kind of disappointing that the Superdome isn't going to be what the Superdome can be for this matchup, because it will be one of the great matchups of the year in the National Football League. But
Yeah, so
Believe me, week one,
I think
week one is a whole is if it wasn't for the Saints and the Bucs, it's going to be a long and distant memory by the time this season gets to mid-December.
Yeah, no, and I tell you right now, I think it's floating out here, guys. Curtis, I think that eventually, and the Bears have talked about this, the first game, they're not going to have fans, but they're going to monitor the situation. I would expect a lot of teams to do that. They're going to monitor the situation. If things get better, then you could see a gradual increase with fans, especially with those teams that are opened up for it. The Giants, they've already said they're not going to have any fans, but teams like the Saints and the Bears and maybe even the Bucs, they're monitoring this situation. We'll see how it goes. What else, Curtis?
So I was sitting here contemplating today. I was actually thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So this season is very. I mean, besides the whole COVID-19 thing, is very similar to our Super Bowl season. Like, we came off of a young quarterback, and we went and signed a veteran, even though Brad Johnson is not Tom Brady. I know that.
Sure.
And we potentially have a great offense instead of a great defense this time. And, the defense is – we're above average defense, as into when the Super Bowl year, we had I don't want to say above average offense, but, I mean, we did pretty good in a couple games, and then there was a couple games where it was like, but it's just so to me, I don't know if it's just me, but a lot of things this season are so similar to
it's weird with everything that's happened in the offseason. It's unbelievable, right? The Super Bowl year, you go out, you trade 4 premium picks for John Gruden. A lot of people don't even think they're going to get John Gruden. This year, you go out and get a Tom Brady. Nobody thinks that's going to happen. Then on top of it, I think this year has been crazy. It's been absolutely crazy because of not only COVID and pandemic and everything like that, but not only Tom Brady, but Rob Gronkowski, and
Absolutely.
then not losing anybody, Al and Curtis, of significance on that basically keep that defense intact. They were able to do that.
Absolutely.
Well, and the other thing, their first day of work today, who was immediately put in at right tackle? Tristan Wirfs. Okay. I know we all kind of expected that with the Bucs first round draft pick, but still the fact that they did it and they did it the first workout is a great kind of sign to everybody. Listen, we're ready to go. We're not backing down. We're not easing into anything. We're ready to work. And so now they have 3 weeks to get ready for what could be the game of the year. And again, you're going to be playing in New Orleans without a crowd, and the Saints have no idea, none, what to expect from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is awesome because that Buccaneer defense certainly knows what, Drew Brees and company can do. They certainly know what Drew Brees and company like to do. And I'm sure Jameis Winston will be telling the Saints coaches, everything he can about the Bruce Arians offense, but it's now a Bruce Arians offense with Tom Brady. And so it's going to be a fascinating matchup, just absolutely fun to watch. And what a great way to start off the season.
It really is. And I tell you right now, Curtis, do you feel like the Bucs will have an advantage with no fans there? I guess, is it the Superdome still, Mercedes-Benz? I don't know. In the Superdome. I'm just calling the Superdome.
I think it's a good thing not to have the fans for us, but as long as Jameis is not on the sideline talking about eating the W, I think we'll be all right. And I have another question for Mr. Al. So yes. I was having a conversation with somebody today, and they seriously don't think that the NFL is going to have a season. And you know what? I'm like, I don't really believe that's going to happen. I think whatever happens, if they have to shut down for a couple weeks and make sure everything gets done, I think they're going to do whatever it takes to finish the NFL season, even if it is after February. And I just want to think what you thought about that.
You are talking billions. We're talking billions of dollars. And the NFL will do whatever it takes, however long it takes, any way that it takes to get this season in. And it may be they play 2 games and then have to wait until November to crank it up again. Oh, well, they're going to do whatever they can to get a representative regular season in so they can get a true playoff in with a true Super Bowl. The National Football League is losing money from attendance and beers and parking and all that. They're not going to lose any more than that. Nope. And they have deep pockets and they have the capability to really sit back and see what the NBA is doing and what Major League Baseball is doing and what the National Hockey League is doing. And believe me, they have all kinds of plans on what they can do if things fall apart. They will not let this season go by. They will play a representative regular season that leads to a playoff that will lead to a Super Bowl champion.
I agree with you 100%. And like I was telling the guy today, I said, listen, oh God, I just lost my thought exactly what I was saying. I just lost my thought exactly what I was saying.
It's all right, Curtis.
It was about them. The fans. The fans don't care when the NFL starts and begins. As long as they're playing football, the fans are going to watch.
Oh, I agree. And I'll tell you right now, Al, and
it doesn't
Curtis,
matter if it doesn't matter if it's now or if it's in April. The fans are going to watch.
Yeah, look at the NHL. Look at NBA. Look at Major League Baseball. People have tuned in, whether they're fans or not. I think it's worked out for them. I think it's definitely worked out for the NHL. Very exciting games there in Toronto, right?
Well, they have record ratings with every team with every sport that's playing right now. Now imagine football. Football is going to go through the roof, especially if there isn't college football or limited college football. So believe me, the NFL will do whatever it takes, and the NFL has the wherewithal to push its way through. And there may be a delay sometime during the season, but the NFL will weather that and go on from there. Now, can you do that? Can you weather something like that in the Pac-12? I don't think you can. You may not be able to do it in the Big Ten, but I think you can do it in the SEC. And I think at the end of the day, when we look back on everything and we look back to see, okay, what happened with COVID and football going hand in hand, I think we'll see that the NFL pushed its way through and that the SEC did everything it could to do exactly the same thing.
And Curtis, if you're not taking my word for it, take this man's word for it, because from the very beginning, when people were saying gloom and doom, no college football, he has said the SEC, the ACC, especially the SEC, because of the money there, they will play a college football season, and it certainly looks like.
And I agree. I make sure I try to get at least. I try to catch Al every Monday because my daughter just started school, so I gotta.
Hey, Curtis, you know what's coming up tomorrow night? The Al Keck show at 9:00. He's gonna have Cameron Brayton, Aaron Murray. I mean, what other show has that?
I know, right?
No one. There you go. Exclusively here on Bucs Report. Curtis, thanks for the call. Use your second and third calls here on the evolution of sports talk television. All right, boss?
All right, guys.
All right, good stuff. Open phone line, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web on the Landry Football Network, Pro Football Edition. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. Let's go out to the webheads, talk to these guys. Let's go, Bucs. Bring your passion, says Yash. Let's go Bucs, says Patrick Dean. Mike says, hello, Peter. How about them Bolts? Absolutely. How about them Bolts? Dylan says, hey, guys. Matt says, watching politics, you wouldn't understand, Peter. I'll be in late. Okay. September 26th, we play at Ole Miss. That was the schedule released today for the Florida Gators, correct? Florida Gators are going to be playing Ole Miss on September 26th.
Yes, it'll be Lane Kiffin coaching Ole Miss, an old rival, is going to be taking on the Florida Gators in game one.
Nice. You have Yash here. I need reassurance about the O-line. Tell me something good. Gronk's got to get Florida ready here. He kicked butt. A lot of people said, well, Al, I don't think Gronk is ready. He's injury prone, although, he's had multiple back injuries, but he certainly doesn't look skinny to me. I mean, if that's skinny, goodness gracious, I want to be skinny when I grow up.
Well, even Bruce Arians said today that, Gronk is in shape, but he's in New England shape. He's not in Florida shape. And a lot of the players that are kind of new to this franchise and new to coming into training camp here is feeling that. And that's one of the reasons why you want to have OTAs, because you can kind of ease into this Florida heat and the humidity and how you're going to work out and how it affects you and all that. Believe me, all you care about is he going to be ready on September 13th? And September 13th is going to be indoors in the Superdome. So Gronk will be fine. Will he have a Gronk-like season like he's had, with the Patriots? I seriously doubt it, because if you are an opposing defense, what's the first thing you're going to take away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It's going to be Gronk, because you know that Tom Brady in a pinch, when it gets tough, when he's got to make one throw to one guy, that chances are it'll be Gronk because of their history. So that's going to be the first thing that opposing teams are going to try to take away. All that said, that could open things up hopefully for Mike Evans and for Chris Godwin and maybe OJ Howard and Cameron Brate. I talked to Cam Brate about this specifically tomorrow night on my show. And again, you're going to enjoy the answer.
We can't wait for that Cam Brate interview. So definitely tune in tomorrow night, 9:00 here, exclusively on Bucs Report, the Keck Show. All right, let's see here. Okay, so Joshua, so hopefully, Yaj, you got some reassurance. How are you feeling about it? That's the question for the night. Are you feeling more confident? Only 24 days until the NFL season opens up with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes versus the Houston Texans on Thursday Night Football. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. Joshua Allen, what's up? SEC scheduled has been released. SEC champs, Florida Gators. That's what he says. Hey, Dylan, Steve, man, been too busy to tune in, but looking forward for tonight. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you. One game at a time. Dylan Casey is early tonight. What's going on, Johnny Dean, the professor? Yes, I'm finally home. Everybody's home watching the evolution. Very cool. Christopher Cole, hey, guys, let's go Bucs. Ginger Bricks, I don't know what that is. I guess that's a smiley face. Excited day one at $1, feeling great about Motley and Scotty Miller. You talk about Scotty Miller, and he's kind of come to the forefront here. We draft Tyler Johnson, but we find out that Tyler Johnson is suffering from an injury. So now the advantage is to a guy like a Scotty Miller and also a Justin Watson.
Justin Watson has been very impressive early in camp. He's shown some speed, and it's about time, because how long have we been waiting for Justin Watson?
Couple
years.
Yeah.
If it means that a Justin Watson and a Scotty Miller step up and show what they can do for this football team, and it means that Tyler Johnson takes his time learning and may have to sit back a little bit while he gets his, acting gear. Great. That's why they drafted Scotty Miller to begin with. That's why they brought Justin Watson in here. And so, I'm glad to see those guys showing what they can do, and hopefully they continue to do that.
All right, there you go. Let's see here. Johnny Dean says lots to look at in the next 2 weeks. Bucs sanity, that's very cool. Going to be fun. Go Knights. Thank you. Ben says it's our time. Mike says Cam Jordan likes to encroach the line. Get it right, caller, says Ben Cornett. Of course, trolling at 1,000 there out of Las Vegas. Absolutely, says Dylan. Next says James Christopher Cole. This guy is getting me hyped. Good. I'm glad Michael did that. Even Peter is getting annoyed with this guy. No, not at all. I never get annoyed with the webheads here. Thanks a lot for calling and, of course, texting in here. Al brings the knowledge, but do we need more depth at the O-line? In your opinion, is that one of the weak spots on this team with Tristan Wirfs starting at the right tackle spot, even with the Joe Hague? Are you still concerned with this offensive line and their overall depth?
And again, in my opinion, and we talked about this on draft night, I thought they needed another offensive lineman. All that being said, if you're taking an offensive lineman in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, And hopefully you're not depending on him to be a key part of your offensive line. But I do think that it would help to have more depth up there, because right now the Bucs like the makeup of that offensive line, but one injury and there could be a major problem. So we'll see. I really like the fact that they put Tristan Wirfs in there from the beginning, and he was working against the number one defense today. So good.
All right, good stuff. So there you go. That's your question is answered here. Let's see. Gators are playing, though. Absolutely. Best virtual edit says, Best virtual edits again. Going to be very fun indeed, Joshua. Sitton says, love it. Go Bucs. Ben says, Michael, if you don't like what the talking heads say, then don't listen to them. But of course, they're gonna listen to them. And I get what Michael's saying. I didn't understand the comments. I understood the comments, then I didn't understand.
Well, look who's saying what. Mm-hmm. Shannon Sharp has won a Super Bowl. Shannon Sharp is in the Hall of Fame. So if Shannon Sharp says something about the NFL, I'm going to listen because of what he's accomplished in his career. Rob Parker, why would you pay any attention to Rob Parker?
Right.
And I can't remember the other one that he said. I mean, really, they're guys looking to get attention, and they're paid to put out crazy opinions to get you all cranked up. And apparently they did it. But use your heads when you're listening to these national, so-called experts. Are they an expert? Why are they an expert? Are they an expert because they played in the National Football League? If they are, then listen. If they're a reporter who has an opinion, just like you and I, how many times have I said it? Opinions are like bungholes. We all have one, and I like my bunghole more than theirs.
There you go. And you're exactly right. Now, Max Kellerman from ESPN, who has said countless times that Tom Brady is on the decline, and I feel like he has something to prove, but he's been wrong about the whole deal. He really has. Tom Brady is not on the decline. I'm sorry to say, even with those numbers of 24-8, that's with one wide receiver, a collection of nobodies, and one running back. I mean, still, you'll take those numbers all day long. Over 4,000 passing yards. I think people are making too much of a big deal about this. Yaj, I'm sorry, Saints are not overrated, and they were screwed until we beat them. They got it. Motley intercepts Brady today. Of course, Mike Edwards with the first interception for Brady. So let's get that out of the way. Again, don't miss Al Keck and his guest tomorrow at 9 p.m. here on Bucs Report, Best Virtual Edits video. Yes, indeed. Can this guy ask a question, says Brian. Well, I don't know what that means, but you can ask a question if you like. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. We were going to get to this, so we'll get to it now. McCoy out for the season. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneer defensive tackle, of course, Carolina Panther, and now Dallas Cowboy is going to be out for the year. Disappointing because you never want to see a player, especially in the first day of padded practices, go out. Do you feel like this could be something that could be normal because of all the scheduling and not having those more padded practices?
Well, I'm going to say something here that I hope is not misunderstood. But Gerald McCoy put in some very good years here, and Gerald McCoy was an incredible representative of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers off the field. And how many times? I mean, I think he made the Pro Bowl 6 times at a time when the Bucs were really probably playing some of their worst football in their history, which is saying something. But as long as Gerald McCoy played here, the Buccaneers didn't do anything. And even though I think he is a very good player and he represented this franchise and this community so very well, are you really surprised that when it came down to a key time that he ends up getting hurt? Now, you never want to see anybody getting hurt,
Sure.
But how many times, the very few times that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were getting ready to play a key game, Gerald McCoy just wasn't there. And that's why very few people think he should be in the Ring of Honor, or very few people see him as one of the greatest Buccaneers of all time. And from the outside looking in, you'd have to think, the guy went to 6 Pro Bowls here. How can you not really value a guy like that? Well, Buccaneer fans know that he not missed that much time, but missed some really key time for this franchise. And now here you go, first day of workouts, and you don't want anything like this to happen, or you don't expect anything like this to happen, to blow a quad tendon. All that being said, I'm not surprised. And I hope he recovers. I hope to see him back. But Buck fans can say, been there, done that.
Yeah, I mean, he's 34 years old, so you kind of doubt if he's going to be able to come back. But he was talking about this, just paraphrasing, and I like a challenge. So he's looking to come back next year. We'll see what happens. Not only him, but also 49ers wide receiver Jalen Hurts suffers an ACL injury. So another major injury for the 49ers. Their wide receiving core right now is kind of thin. Even though they signed the likes of J.J. Nelson and Tavon Austin, which are veterans, they lost Deebo Samuel and now lost Jalen Hurts. So could the 49ers?
Antonio Brown. You're going to hear the drums start beating for Antonio Brown.
Can't do it, Al. And I tell you why. First and foremost, 8 games for the first of the season. And then on top of it, he is the perfect candidate. He is the poster child of going out to a club, getting COVID, or not being responsible. And as we've heard from other coaches, I get it, he has the talent, but it only takes one player to basically mess up that locker room. If you're a coach or general manager, Al, would you really have confidence in Mr. AB?
Well, this is not a John Lynch type of move.
No.
Because how many times have we seen John Lynch talk about how the Niners have to come up with someone to step forward and all this? And even if they think about making a trade, they end up making a move for one of their players, maybe that's been, on the injured list or on the practice squad, or, a young player that they had in camp before, or something like that. This is not a John Lynch move. But the national media and the Rob Parkers and the Max Kellermans of the world are going to bring this stuff up. But I don't see John Lynch making a move like that.
Do you see anybody picking up Antonio Brown? Once again, I get how talented he is, and we're killing. It's almost like beating a dead horse. But do you see the Baltimore Ravens or another team, if they have a serious injury or say they're trying to make a playoff push, picking up a Brown, or do you feel like he goes unsigned?
In 2020, I think we can expect to see Antonio Brown.
With?
Who knows? Who knows? I don't think it necessarily is going to be Baltimore, even though Lamar Jackson would like nothing more.
Right.
I think it'll end up being someplace else. And, and so anything is possible in 2020. And I just, obviously it's not going to be the Buccaneers, not because of all this other stuff that people have said in the 8 games and this and that. Bruce Arians coached the kid when he came out of college and was there as the offensive coordinator very early in his career. And if there was anyone that would know Antonio Brown, it would be Bruce Arians. And he makes it very clear he's not interested. So, who knows where he ends up? But you asked me if I thought that he would be on a roster in 2020, and I do. At the end of the year, he will be with somebody.
All right. I thought you would see him like on America's Most Wanted or Cops or something like that. That's what I thought you were going with. Sorry. Michael Scott says, hey, Peter, the number 1 seed is not as important it could have been in years past, and the reason being is because there's probably no fans going to be allowed in the stands anyway. Drew Brees is not the greatest quarterback. I think that's what he's saying. And look, Peter, I understand people's point. They say it doesn't matter anyway, but when the Buccaneers sign They're going on teams. They have the GOAT. They're fighting for second place in the division. They're playing for a national championship, or they're playing for a Super Bowl. Keep on saying national championship. I know what you mean. Let's go out to Johnny Dean. Johnny Dean, the professor, welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Mr. Al Keck.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the Antonio Brown thing. Al, I was right there with you. I thought because the NFL is how it is, with somebody that has that much talent is not going to be sitting on the sideline. But since word leaked out about what happened with Brown going to the Saints after the Saints told him, do not bring anybody with you, and Brown went to the Saints with an entourage, I'm starting to doubt that he is going to be with a team. If he's trying to get back in the league and can't follow simple instructions like that, that I don't see him playing in 2020.
And that's what he is. But, chances are, there are a whole lot of really dumb people that own teams in the National Football League, that run teams in the National Football League, where common sense, does not come into play. So I do think, and your point's right on, Johnny. Again, that makes common sense, but someone will take a chance on it.
And he's probably right, because if you have a big wide receiving injury, but here's my thing. He's already being investigated not only for the 8 games, but also some other stuff off the field, another case. So the NFL may not be done suspending Mr. Big Chest. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, I don't think any of the top teams need a wide receiver nearly as bad as the Ravens, and they've went beyond Antonio Brown now, and they're looking at Des Bryant this week.
Des Bryant, Johnny Dean, and Al, does that make sense for you? Is Des Bryant a guy that can contribute to the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, right at the moment, the Ravens have their number one guy's got a broken thumb. He's going to be out for the first 2 weeks of the season, at least. So, yeah, they don't have anybody at wide receiver position.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say they kind of need – they're desperate right now. They're not as desperate as they are now as they're going past Antonio Brown and looking at Des Bryant. Because we know, definitely, if you put Antonio Brown, Des Bryant together in a skills competition, Antonio Brown's going to eat him up.
Sure.
And if you're just looking for talent, then yes, if Antonio Brown's number one on the talent list out there. But if they're passing on him, and we're talking about an organization who has a tough locker room. Antonio Brown's not going to walk in the Ravens locker room and throw his cock on anybody's table.
Yeah, I would be worried. I would be worried about bringing him around his cousin and Marquise Brown, and I would be worried about bringing him around the MVP and Lamar Jackson. That's what I would be worried about. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. But with all these wide receiving injuries to some of the top teams in the NFL, you have the San Francisco 49ers who have their problems. Already doubts about Jimmy Garoppolo and that offense, so they're going to definitely have to depend on that running game again. Can they do it? And then the Baltimore Ravens, who are everybody's favorite to go to the Super Bowl. But if you're having injuries to your wide receiving core, how good is Lamar Jackson going to have to be with his tight end connection and Mark Andrews and everybody else? They're going to have to pick up the slack. So it's something to –
Well, Peter, here's the other thing. There are only so many big-time wide receivers out there. And when it comes to Des Bryant, he got signed a year ago by the Saints. And what was his very first workout? He got hurt and he was done for the season.
Yeah.
So, I just don't think Des Bryant is an answer. But I do think this may become something that happens in the National Football League this season. Because you've had no OTAs. You've had very little work between quarterbacks and their wide receivers during this offseason. And now you're trying to cram everything you can into a very short training camp. I believe what's going to happen is that so many of these teams are going to go back to the basics as much as they can. And I think especially early in the year, you're going to see a lot of teams running the football. That's why San Francisco and Baltimore could be very good at the beginning of the year, even though they're missing talent in their receiving core. I think they're just going to pound the football at you. And the teams that can do that, especially early in the season, because you're not working on tackling. You're not working on a lot of those basics all that stuff goes out the window. And then it's just hardcore, me against you, me pounding on you. If I'm bigger and have good technique, I'm going to win. And that could certainly be the case early on in the National Football League.
What else, Johnny Dean?
That was it. Although Al just kind of touched on a different topic, which is the same topic, the veterans. The more veteran teams, I wrote a thing about them going to be the more predominant teams in the league right at the moment, right at the first half of the season at least.
Yeah, I mean, do you think there's going to be more injuries now? Because we've seen some main injuries. Even Robert Alford, who's a cornerback for the Cardinals, he tore his pec. So is there some concern, in your opinion? And Al, in your opinion, that there could be some more injuries because I already asked you this, Al, but Johnny, what do you think? Do you think there could be more injuries because of only having 14 days of padded practice?
You're going to have injuries no matter what. Even before,
right.
Back when they were doing the 2 days or the 4 days, back in the early days, there was injuries galore. So I don't. It's how the individual stretches. It's how much effort he actually takes in hydrating and stretching and keeping his body right is what I think is most important there.
Yeah, and you're really going to get a chance to see here, guys.
He blew out his leg, I guess.
Right. Well, it's a ruptured right quadriceps, and it's first padded practice. He just signed a 3-year, $18 million deal. They had high expectations for him, really trying to rebuild that defense with DeMarcus Lawrence and, of course, getting an Everson Griffin, which they signed on Friday. So they had some big things for Gerald McCoy and Dontario Poe, but now they're kind of left scrambling trying to find a defensive tackle. So, once again, the Cowboys – not great luck in the offseason, and I kind of think this may happen because either A, you don't have enough padded practices, Al and Johnny, or B, you may actually get some indication on who are the guys that are actually staying in shape with everything that's gone on and who guys are not.
Well, you're going to have a month of training camp to get ready for that game. They're professional football players. They'll be ready in a month. But football's a game to where it can happen on any play, whether you're in great shape, whether you're not in shape. Anything can happen, and stuff always does. And so in the National Football League, every year it's about who can handle injuries, who can replace starters, and go from there. I mean, the Cowboy defensive line was a little shaky at best, and that's why they had to sign a Gerald McCoy to begin with. And now on the first day of practice, he is now done for the season. For all of us Buck fans who have seen Gerald McCoy over the years, that's not a shocking development. And I don't mean that as a slam on Gerald McCoy. It's just kind of a continuation of his time here. So, here's hoping that the Buccaneers can stay as healthy as they possibly can, because 2020 will be a crazy, stupid year. And who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, I'll take Tom Brady with the fact that the Saints have no idea what to expect in this season opener in New Orleans without a crowd, without elements. I like their chances.
I definitely like their chances. Johnny Dean, let me ask you this. Do you feel a lot better about the NFL season happening with 24 days coming up, no more opt-outs, not really a lot of COVID, COVID list, COVID guys that are testing positive for? Do you feel more positive about this situation than you did a couple weeks ago?
That ties into what I was trying to say about McCoy. I don't see him as a big hit. I'm sorry. League-wise, he's not a big hit. But league-wise, Hurd in San Francisco and A.J. Green in Cincinnati, those are big hits. Those take a team out. And that's what, with the COVID, the ties into COVID, with COVID, it's going to make a scramble. We've had to reduce our rosters. We don't get the training time for these guys. If we take a big hit like Evans, we've got Godwin to back him up, but then behind him, there we go, like our last season again.
Yeah.
So I can't think of a really big hit besides Tom Brady that would cripple us like Hurd and those guys. And I don't think Hurd's going to cripple San Francisco, but definitely A.J. Green is crippling Cincinnati.
Well, yeah, especially with Joe Burrow coming aboard there. You want all your weapons on deck, and if you don't have it, then you start to worry. And especially with Green and his status, when he can be healthy, he can be one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. He hasn't been healthy the last couple of years. And once again, here we go again with Green.
Peter, and again, going back to my interview tomorrow with Cameron Brate, I asked him again specifically about how much is there a message from the top, not just the coaches, general managers, assistant coaches, but the veterans to the younger players about being smart and doing things the right way. How much of that is beaten into your head? Because all it takes is for one guy to go to one bar and you can infect the entire building. And Cameron Brate makes it very clear that that is a message that's beat into everybody's head in every single day that you're there. My biggest worry is not a player that gets this. My biggest worry is that it gets into the building and a Bruce Arians gets it, your head coach. And now your number one voice, who again is approaching 70, he's a 3-time cancer survivor. So he's a guy that can't afford to get this. My biggest fear is the virus going in and not just getting players, but getting coaches as well. And then everything is just backed up and as far as trying to get ready for a game. That's my biggest fear.
Johnny Dean, anything else?
No, I agree with Al with that. I'm going to get off here and let Shoots try to call in. I think he wants to ask a question.
All right, good stuff. Thanks a lot, Johnny Dean. Appreciate you. The professor calling in to the evolution of sports talk television, all right? All right, let's go ahead and go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. You're on with yours truly, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. What's on your mind? Is this Shooty?
Hey, yeah. What's up?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Doing good. Another big Lightning win. So I've got to call and celebrate that a little bit. But I do have some concerns with the Bucs, and I wanted to kind of get your guys' take on it.
Okay.
Without the preseason being played and obviously the season being a little bit different, how much of a disadvantage do you think this puts the Bucs in as they will go into week 1 with that being their first actual game action?
I don't know.
Absolutely none.
You don't think so, Al?
It's the best thing in the world for them because National Football League teams, the big thing they do is look at days worth of film on every opponent out there. And what direction do you go when you look at the Bucs? Okay, you can look at what Bruce Arians' offense has done in the past. Well, he's got a different quarterback. That how's he going to work with these weapons? You really can't account for that. You can look at Tom Brady's career in New England, but he didn't have any of the type of weapons that he has now. So the biggest advantage for the Bucs is that no one has seen anything, and no one knows what to expect. I mean, you're assuming that the word is he can't throw deep. Well, what happens on the very first throw today at practice? He goes 60 yards. So no one knows what to expect from the Buccaneers. And your big advantage here is you have the greatest of all time. You've got a 20-year veteran, a guy who's seen and has done everything, and a trip to New Orleans ain't going to shake him at all. So the first part of the season, now, does that mean they go out and they go 16-0 or win all their games in September or any of that? Probably not. But they're going to weather whatever storm they have to weather. And by the end of the season, I do believe, and that's why I don't think it's important that they win a division. In a perfect world, you'd like them to have a division title. And so you have a bye here and a bye there and a home field advantage here. And you'd like all that. All that stuff's going to be thrown out the window because you don't know how many fans are going to be able to be at any game, especially, this season and these playoffs. And so the fact that they haven't played, they haven't put something on film, they haven't been seen by other people, I think is a huge advantage for the Buccaneers, especially going into their, what many people believe to be their game of the year in week number 1.
And I think my concern is, Shooty, the fact of no game action. What's the effect on rookies like a Tristan Wirfs? Tyler Johnson's already hurt, but what's the effect on those guys? They get it. Coaches are already making their evaluations in those practices, but you got to feel like if you don't have those game situations, now maybe not for Tom Brady, a Mike Evans, or Chris Godwin, proven commodities, but guys that are trying to fight for a spot, you're undrafted, you're rookies, I would be concerned. So with all that being talked about, with some of these rookies making an impact, I'm hoping that they're able to get up to speed. And I feel like even 2 preseason games, I would feel a little bit more comfortable than with none.
Yeah, I was starting to lose a little bit of sleep, but I really like what Al said. And now I will sleep like a baby, I think, tonight, after I finish watching the Sports Web, of course.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate that. So do the
have some Crown Royal. That also helps.
He's saying Crown Royal. Nice. How do you top that? He said Crown Royal and then go to sleep. All right, so there you go. Do the light.
No, Peter. You have Crown Royal and then you have to fall asleep.
Well, listen, I'm just hoping I don't have to drink a whole bottle of Crown Royal during the Bucs game Sunday afternoon this season, and I'm hoping we're going in the right direction here. So,
do you think they're going in the right direction, in your opinion? Do you like the expectations? Are you afraid of the expectations?
I think the Bucs should have the mindset of we are going to win the Super Bowl every season, and we haven't really had that mindset realistically since we won the Super Bowl.
Sure, and I think there's a feeling that this is real expectations. It's not smoke and mirrors like it was in 2017 after your 2016 winning season. You feel like the defense is coming together. You feel like because you have a captain and a Tom Brady who's done it before, a Rob Gronkowski, those are known quantities, and you put those together with an Evans and a Godwin who have been consistent, you feel like those expectations are for real. But like Al said, it's 2020. You really don't know what to expect with everything that's going on. But let me ask you this really quick, and then whatever is on your mind at that point, you can go ahead and say. But Tampa Bay Lightning, they close it out on Wednesday?
I think so. I think they've been playing well. They keep getting better. They're still not playing full Lightning hockey like we expect and lighting up the scoreboard, but you're seeing them kind of adjust. And I think the thing you really saw tonight was this line with Gord, Coleman, and Goodrow really starting to come in their own. And they've been the line that's starting and setting the tone for the team. And they're really the guys that weren't here last year when, Columbus kind of beat us up in that first round. I think everyone wants to forget that. I know I downed a couple bottles of Crown Royal for that one. But yeah, it seems a little bit different this year. We've got teams where we got some new players and personnel that are really, brought in for that purpose. So you got to give JBB a lot of credit, the GM of the Lightning. We all gave Yzerman, credit for the last couple of years, but JBB is the one that kind of has made those moves to bring specifically those 2 guys in. And those 3 guys were the 3 stars in the game today. And I expect them throughout the playoffs to be, when you have a third line that's like those guys that can hit, be aggressive, and score goals, watch out. And then the other thing that I saw over the last couple of games was Bassey, who looked really uncomfortable in the round robin with some of his saves and kind of, bobbling the puck around and letting up some kind of weak goals. He's really started to kind of turn the corner, and he will be the key to if they are going to raise the cup in a month or 2 here.
Yeah, I mean, it always comes down to goaltending. Both of you guys here. Carpuscello for Columbus has been unbelievable. He's kept that team in the series with some of the saves, but you're exactly right. A player like an Alex Killorn, a Yanni Gourde, who clearly looked like the best player on the ice today, which was shocking. They have to get those type of contributions from your third and fourth lines. And if you can do that, I think the sky is the limit. And remember, Steven Stamkos, I know he's out indefinitely, but there's got to be a time period where he's going to come back, and you almost feel like he's just going to add already to this great team this year.
Yeah, and that power play is definitely missing him. If you've seen kind of what they have done, or I should say not done lately, You're missing him. They also really haven't put Hedman back into that power play slot yet. So I think we're seeing kind of the Bolts start to get into their groove. And, hopefully that means they're going to close it out on Wednesday, 12 p.m. start time. Thanks a lot, NHL.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then, we'll see what happens. I don't want to look ahead to next round already because we still got to win this series. But I really kind of like how things are going because the team we're playing right now matches up well against us, obviously, as we all know. So we'll see what happens. They're a great team, and they have yet to kind of finish the season where they need to. And, maybe this is the year. But like you guys said, 2020, so who the heck knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen. Shooter and Stash, they do a great job of putting together this, Tampa Bay sports animation with some humor. Definitely don't be a stranger here, Shooty, all right?
Anytime. Great show, guys. Thanks.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. So open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Keep you on a little bit later tonight. We're supposed to have Leo Haggerty on, but we're going to keep you on because the flow is going good. We're reading these comments from the webhead, so let's go out to these webheads here. Let's see. Falcons won't have fans for the first 2 games at least. Is that a smart idea by NFL teams? You have the Giants and the Jets who came out early and said no fans at all for the whole season. And now you have some of these teams like the Chicago Bears and the Atlanta Falcons being open-minded and saying, you know what, maybe the first couple games we're not going to have any fans, but we will see how it works out to have fans. Do you like that approach?
Well, this isn't about being open-minded. This isn't about teams, coming out and saying things. This is about what states say. And everything that has been said about teams not having fans in for these first couple of games are all about state restrictions. And so that's the way it's going to be for the rest of the season. And that's the way it's going to be probably into next year. But I do guarantee you this. If things start to turn the tide, if things start to change, if it's obvious that teams can allow some people in some states and they're having a little bit of success for that other states and other teams are going to turn the tables and do exactly the same thing. Everyone's making such a big deal out of the fact that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have packed it in until spring and no football in the fall. Well, if the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 are showing that they can play football and they're thriving, believe me, the Big Ten and the Pac-12, maybe not the Pac-12, but certainly the Big Ten, somehow, some way will be able to put together a schedule, and it may be a fall and spring schedule or something to make it work. And it's going to change in the National Football League as well. It may be that we don't see fans until the middle of October, okay? And it may be that the first 4 weeks of fans, that, we don't see, a full stadium. But what happens if the SEC shows and some of these college teams show that you can have people there and that things are somewhat under control and that the testing that the NBA has put out there has really turned things around and that they're close to a vaccine or maybe even have a vaccine by the time December rolls around, they're going to put people in the stands. The National Football League ain't playing here. They got to make money, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make money. And we just have to be ready as fans to jump aboard this roller coaster. First 2 weeks, there aren't going to be fans anywhere. Who knows what happens from there? Again, no one's got an idea. No one's got a crystal ball. Nobody thought back in March that we'd be dealing with this stuff that we're dealing with right now. So that's 2020. We got to deal with it. We got to be ready for it. But be ready and buckle up and be ready for anything and everything.
There you go. Be ready for anything and everything, says Al Keck, the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend. Let's go out to the webheads. What about what Arian said about Gronk not doing too good in the heat? We kind of addressed that. Any concern of that? I mean, that's just, again, repetition. He has to get used to the Florida heat. I still have to get used to the Florida heat, but he will, right?
I remember my very first day on the job here in Tampa, Florida, and I'd come out from San Diego. And if you want a difference in weather, San Diego and Tampa are about as far apart as you can get. And my very first day, I'm in a suit and tie. This is my first day at work. I walk in and they see me, and it's the middle of August. And they said, you're going to get on a plane in an hour and go to Tallahassee because late 80s, this is Florida State has just been named the preseason #1. So you're flying up to Tallahassee. I didn't have time to prepare for that. I'm in a car 10 minutes later riding to the airport. I get to Tallahassee. I'm wearing a suit and tie. I've never been so uncomfortable in my life. Was I the most out of shape person in the world? No, but I wasn't ready for anything like that. And I had to make another trip. I went through 3 shirts that day. I had to go to JCPenney's and buy 2 more shirts. And I went through the 3 shirts. So the Florida Heat is a whole different animal. And believe me, Gronk may not be, as Bruce Arians said, he may be in New England shape, but he ain't in Florida shape. He will be by the time the Bucs kick things off on September 13th.
All right, good stuff. Look at MLB. Outside of a few teams being yahoos, they've been in good shape, which is why I'm optimistic. Good point, Chris. Sorry, Saints fans, with a Bucs show on September 13th, your stadium will turn into a loser dome, hands down, with a Bucs show on September 13th. Tune into that. Eric says, look ahead to next year. Are we going to be able to keep the team together? If not, who should we let go? I know we have the least cap in the league. People keep on addressing this. They do have some issues here, right? I mean, look, you sign Brady to a big-time contract. Gronkowski is only under a 1-year deal, so that could be coming off the books. That would be $10 million. You also have O.J. Howard, who could be up for a deal. Chris Godwin, you want to get him signed for an extension, most likely. Levante David, Shaq Barrett. So there are many decisions here. So in the next 2 years, this window could be closing. Who do you feel like could be gone, and who do you feel like could be signed?
Peter, what is the difference between this roster this year and last year? And if somebody had told you at this time a year ago, Jameis Winston is not going to be the quarterback, it's going to be Tom Brady. Oh, and by the way, Gronk is going to be on this team. Oh, and by the way, they will draft probably the guy that a lot of teams said was the #1 offensive lineman in the league. Oh, and by the way, you're going to keep everybody from that defense. There are so many things that can happen. And one of the reasons why I have as many ex-wives as I do is that a few of them like to talk about what ifs. This can happen 5 years down the road. What's going to happen if this does this? And I remember talking with Dan Fouts one time, and because I asked a question with an if, and he says, don't ever ask me a question with the word if. I don't deal in ifs. Ifs can drive you nuts. Shoulds can drive you nuts. Should I do this? Should I do that? Don't should all over yourself. I don't know what's going to happen 2 years from now. I don't know what's going to happen 2 days from now. This is 2020. So let's get through this football season. Then we'll look at next football season. Then we'll worry about whatever roster that happens from there. But right now, the Buccaneers are the most meaningful and the most relevant and the most talked about team in the National Football League. That is a team in our market. And everybody in national media is looking at the Bucs as to what they're going to do. Let's enjoy that. Let's ride that. Let's look at that. And I haven't even looked at 2 years down the road.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if you win a Super Bowl the next 2 years, you're not going to be disappointed if you lose a couple players, and you very well. But like you said, you need to definitely worry about not worry about it, but enjoy it. Enjoy the expectations instead of being scared by it. All right. So I think to that question, one of the biggest signings would have to be a Chris Godwin and, of course, a Shaq Barrett. If Shaq Barrett can duplicate that success he had last year, I mean, not 19 and a half sacks, but who knows, right? But Chris Godwin is one of the top wide receivers in the league, one of the top 3 wide receivers in the league. So that will be one of those considerations where you have to look and see if the Bucs lose some players. But with all that being said, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, a lot of worry when Patrick Mahomes got that big-time contract, and all of a sudden they're signing everybody on their roster. Their big tight end, Kelsey, gets $14 million a year. You already have Hill. They got their defensive player into Chris Jones. I don't think fans were worried about it. They just feel like they trust their organization. So if the Chiefs can do it, why can't the Bucs?
Who's it going to affect more? It's going to affect a team more than fans, because a salary cap that's too tight affects a team as much as all the fans hate it and all the fans, want to talk about it. It doesn't really affect them as much as it does a team.
Yeah.
So the beauty for the Bucs is they were able to get Tom Brady in a year when they had a ton of salary cap room. They got him in at a figure that, I mean, look what the Kansas City quarterback got and look what they got Tom Brady for. In other words, Brady signed for half of what Mahomes is going to be getting in about 3 years. So is there that big a discrepancy between those two quarterbacks? The other thing is, in 2 years and within 2 years, you're going to have to go out and draft a young quarterback that's going to be your quarterback of the future. And chances are, by the time Tom Brady is done, that young quarterback may have to be the guy. And he may have to be the guy with a very low salary cap hit. So that opens up in other ways at a time when the Buccaneers, many of this young talent is going to be coming around for some big paydays. So there, as Dan Fouts told me, don't talk about ifs and don't talk about shoulds. Don't should all over yourself. Let's just make it through these next 2 years, because I think they're set up a whole lot better than we would have thought they would have been set up 4 years ago. And because things always happen, and who knows what could happen. And the beauty right now is that they're working with the salary cap and a budget to where quarterbacks, their quarterback figure is $25 million a year. That ain't the case in Green Bay. That ain't the case. That's not going to be the case in Dallas. That ain't going to be the case in Philadelphia. And so the Bucs are going to have an advantage there in that they're working with a quarterback salary structure that, even by getting Tom Brady, that they did not expect to get. I'm sure they expected, if coming into the season, well, we got to sign Jameis to a long-term deal. And even if it were at $28 million a year, compared to what it is with so many of these other teams, but still $28 million a year is going to be like that for the next 5 years. They're going to bring a new quarterback in here in the next couple of years. It's going to be a rookie. It's going to be a young player that will be a good quarterback. And he may have to start, but his cap number is going to be way down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. And again, you don't know what the future is going to hold, because let's say they do win a Super Bowl this year. What if Tom Brady retires? Then, yeah, you got a Super Bowl, but you have to worry about the future then. But right now, worry about the 2020 season and have faith that this organization knows what they're doing, because it certainly seems like with everything they've done in this offseason the last couple of years, they've definitely put together possibly a special team in 2020. Al Keck, go ahead.
And let's not forget this, not to interrupt you, Peter, but remember, this is a season right now to where what's holding this team in the balance is making sure that a guy that's the number 60 player on this team doesn't leave the facility and go out to Palm Pavilion down there at Clearwater Beach for dinner. that doesn't do something that's going to bring a coronavirus into the building. And that's the biggest worry they have right now. Deal with that. Make sure you have that locked down and work with everything else that you have. If you do, things are going to turn out your way because you have one of the best rosters right now in the National Football League. And you have one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not the greatest quarterback in NFL history. He may not be that today, but he's pretty damn close. And that's better than the quarterback you've had in the past. It's better than any quarterback this franchise has had. And you're the most relevant team right now in all of professional sports in America at a time when we really need to see it.
I want to read the rest of these comments, and then we'll get you out of here because the Webheads has some comments for you here. Hey, Cam Jordan, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, and the New Orleans Saints. What are you going to do when the Tampa Bay, I think he said Gronkaneers, run wild on you? He's cutting a wrestling promo there. He's still pumped up. Well, if you're talking about me being annoying, guess what? I'm just a passionate Bucs fan. Don't worry about somebody saying you're annoying. You're not annoying. Thank you very much, Michael, for calling in. Eric says, who said Joshua Cole Allen on the Juice press conference? My man with the heat. We'll talk to him tomorrow night about the OJ press conference. Taylor Allen says, Peter. Chris says, Al, do you still believe the Bucs have a top 10 offensive line?
A top 10 offensive line?
Yes.
Probably not.
Okay.
But what's it going to be at the end of September? And from there on, the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I want to see if the Bucs have a top 10 offensive line. I think obviously they've improved it, with Tristan Wirfs at right tackle. I do think that they're one strong offensive lineman away from where I would want them to be. So, but again, if they can protect Brady and give him just enough of a run game, that's all they need.
That's it. I think you're right. I like my bum hole more than anyone else. Gotta love Al Keck says, Ben Cornett, don't know what the hell they're talking about. Bring this year. Michael says, Gerald McCoy, the guy played really good, 6 Pro Bowls. How can you say he was a great player for the Buccaneers? The only reason why I say that is because he had a garbage team. Buccaneers, the only reason why I say that is because, okay, so you had a garbage team. That's Michael's point there with Gerald McCoy. Is that fair?
Well, he never brought the team. My biggest criticism of Gerald McCoy is that every time the Buccaneers were just on that cusp of improving and showing major improvement, he wasn't there for whatever reason. Or, there was some injury or there was something that came up or there was something that happened to where he couldn't be that team. Warren Sapp took this team to another level. Derek Brooks took this team to another level. Gerald McCoy never did that. And if you want to compare him to some of the better players in Buccaneer history, then you have to bring that up. And that has certainly not been the case with Gerald McCoy. And again, went to 6 Pro Bowls here, was incredible in the community, and has helped his community so very much. Class act, awesome guy off the field. Couldn't say enough about him. But he could never get that team to another point.
Okay. All right. As much as I appreciate what Gerald did for us, I met him. He's a really nice guy, but no way he gets in the Ring of Honor, especially before Simeon Rice. I mean, what's up with that? Rice for Ring of Honor now, says Eric. Jensen and Marpet are borderline great players. Kappa could very well aspire to be if he continues to play as well as he did with a broken arm. Worse, if he is what we think he should be, he could make us great up front. But depth is very lacking on the O-line still. Michael, I know Bruce Arians said he didn't want all this other stuff, Antonio Brown, but what if he did join us? But then it's game on. I know Bruce Arians said he didn't want it. He doesn't want it in the locker room. I don't think it's going to happen. Eric Scott, my man. Yo says Shooty and Stash. We haven't heard from him before. Des trying out for the Ravens. I got a question for the Dream Team. It will be tough for the Ravens to repeat the success they had. Vontaze Burfict is partly responsible for the self-destruction of Antonio Brown with that vicious hit. Absolutely. Hey, Peter, I understand what people are saying. I guess what they are, the pretenders and contenders when it comes to being any kind of professional football player. with Max and Rob Parker, all these fake animals. I think he's just kind of saying in so many words, he's tired of all the nonsense from those talking heads. Okay. Shooter and stash, sorry it took so long. Daniel, Nolas Rosis, remember when this guy interviewed you on camera? I don't know who that is. I'm scared of these expectations. Not to say I don't truly believe we will live up to them. I just hate expectations. I bet Tom feels like the underdog, and that's what calms him down. I don't necessarily think he feels like the underdog. I actually think he feels like there's a chip on his shoulder where you have something to prove. How about Des Bryant working out for Baltimore? We talked about that. My Caps are toast. Let's go Bolts. Michael Scott. Columbus Blue Jackets playing okay series against the Tampa Bay Lightning. At least we didn't win one game at least, but the team will eventually get a Stanley Cup championship. What do you think about Peter against the Tampa Bay Lightning? I think what he's asking is, what do you think the chances are winning a cup? They have the best opportunity this year. Eventually that window is going to close, right, Al?
Is this Bolts report or is this Bucs report? We talked about the Lightning. Are we going to talk about the Tampa Bay Rowdies next? I mean, all this is good. Hey, I'm happy the Lightning won. I want to see the Lightning go as far as they can in these playoffs. I love their owner. I love their organization. I love their ownership. I love everything that they do. I enjoy going to Lightning games, but I want to talk Bucs.
Okay. What's up, Pete? Now, always good to see you guys. Absolutely. I love it. Al getting feisty there, getting on me there. Board Films is a documentary on Grok on YouTube called Grockumentary. Only 30 minutes. I highly recommend checking it out. Will do. The Bucs very strategically put this team together. The team is stacked with weapons with one goal in mind, and that is the Super Bowl. They brought the GOAT and many resources for him to make this possible. Everyone just needs to do their part. They can make it happen. Positive vibes only. Fire them cannons. That would be Miss Taylor Allen, the wife of Joshua Cole Allen. I know why you picked her, buddy.
And that made more sense than anything else I've heard today.
Awesome, says Richard. Joshua Cole Allen, Bruins, 3 goals in 4 minutes. All right, we're not talking about hockey here. Let's see. Top 11. Always something. Off-season champion, but I hope he has a quick recovery. G-Mac never had that fire. Ryan Arnold, hey, Spider, when do you want to grab those wings? Tell you what, come up to the deck in Isla del Sol, and I will get you some wings because I owe you them. We had a bet. Ryan said the Bucs would not sign Jameis Winston. They would sign Tom Brady, and Ryan was right. There you go. I'm wrong. Somebody is right. I admitted to it. Don't lose your mind. Hell didn't freeze over. All right. Gerald McCoy never had the supporting cast as Sapp, not even close.
Whoa. Before you go there, Mikey, remember what the Bucs looked like when Sapp first got there and his second year. Okay. Sapp made a difference his first year. Sapp made a difference his second year in changing the culture and getting this team together and getting this team better. As much as I like Gerald McCoy as a person, he did not do that with this franchise. Now, granted, there wasn't a whole lot to work there with, but when Sapp got here, there wasn't a whole lot to work there with either. But he made it happen. There are some guys that just simply do that. And Sapp was one of them. Brooks was one of them. Lynch was one of them. Gerald McCoy was not.
And he gets this. There you go. That's for Gerald McCoy because this comment makes the most sense of the night. Show me one great G-Mac highlight. Remember one?
There you go.
G-Mac had that fire. What fire? Dean, I can. G-Mac would have been much better being the supporting cast. Mike says,
yes, absolutely.
Right. I hope he run the Saints out of the big, I don't know. What is that? Souffle? Okay. Oh, by the way, Anthony Nelson. I don't know, Peter. I like Anthony Nelson. Everybody is.
I agree.
And everybody keeps on saying, Anthony Nelson, he's unproven, but they drafted him for a reason in the 4th round. he has the same he has the same factors as Carl Nassib. He really does. And to me,
but he's bigger.
Right.
He's bigger, and he's probably stronger, and he's probably more athletic. So it's time for him to start showing his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had opportunities, but he keeps getting hurt.
Right.
You know, and that's exactly what we've been talking about. Okay. You know, you've got to build a franchise with guys that make things happen. Okay. It's not always physically, but sometimes it's physically and it's emotionally. And you just make your locker room and your position group and your team better. The Bucs have not had enough of those. When Hardy Nickerson joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this franchise started to change. Was he the greatest linebacker in the history of the NFL? No, but he was damn good, and he made a difference with the people that followed him on this team. And that was the foundation of the defense for Tony Dungy, and they built it from there.
All right. So there you go. There's a comment. Nelson will be much like Nassib. That's how I think. No, you won't. Dean says best virtual edits video. I don't know why you're so down on Nelson, but okay. Al looks like a Canadian, says Shooter and Stash. Yash says, what do you think of training camp live today? What do you guys think of training camp live today? You tell me. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. We would get him out of here. We'll get Rick Hughes on. Hey, guys, even though I'm blind and visually impaired, what do you guys think about the comparison with a Vita Vea and a Simeon Rice? Different players. Simeon Rice, to me, should be a Hall of Famer for that gift of being able to get after the quarterback. When people say he's one-dimensional, oh, by the way, it's one of the most important facets in the NFL. So to me, numbers don't lie. Vita Vea, not the same type of player. He's athletic. He's only going to get better. He's more of a run stopper, but he can get after the passer. What do you say?
Well, Simeon Rice was a sack master, and that was the one thing they really needed for that defense at that particular time. And he stepped in, and it was tailor-made for him. Vita Vea is also someone that this defense sorely needs, but with Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea together, they're hell on wheels, and they will stop any run game out there. They continue to need that. That's why they signed Ndamukong Suh to another deal, and they keep bringing him back. Hopefully, Vita Vea gets to the point to where he can take that over himself, and maybe one of these young draft picks can come plug in and add some stuff like Vita Vea did with Ndamukong Suh.
All right. Let's see. If you're still on the LeBron over Jordan wagon, I can't take your opinion on players seriously. Very good, Johnny Dean. Are you concerned about Matt Gay? Will he not miss 3 kicks in the game this year? Are you concerned about Matt Gay? A lot of people keep on talking about him, the misses he had against Atlanta, the miss he had against the Giants. Is that a big concern for you?
Well, the National Football League is all about missing kicks. I mean, it happens every year. There are teams, and this is a franchise that knows that as well as anybody. Teams have kickers that miss kicks. If you sit around and worry about that, you're going to drive yourself nuts. I've seen the guy hit some key kicks. I hope and I pray that Tom Brady puts the football in the end zone so you don't have to even talk about missed field goals. I hope the conversation, if it gets to that, it's about missing points after or point afters, because they're still scoring touchdowns. So this team needs to put the reason you got Tom Brady was to put the football in the end zone, not to kick field goals. And, Matt Gay had his moments, both positively and negatively. And if he doesn't do his job this year, he's going to be gone. He could be gone in September. He could be gone anytime this year, or he could make it out the entire year if he's doing his job. The Bucs won't think twice about making a change there.
I agree. I'll tell you what, I want you to promote your show. I'll read the rest of the comments, but we want to get you out of here. What do you got coming up tomorrow night on the Al Keck Show, exclusively here on Bucs Report at 9 o'clock?
Again, we've got Cameron Brate, and we talked about so many of the things that he talked about. What's it like to really catch a pass from Tom Brady? What happened when that was the very first time? What has the conversation been from the top down about everybody being smart in this COVID situation? How did the Bucs really react when Cam Jordan said what he did? And what's it going to be like playing in the Superdome with no fans there, the season opening game, with so much hype for both teams? Can they really get ready for that game, and what's it going to be like? So we got Cam Brate for a serious conversation. No one else has had Cam Brate one-on-one. We also have Aaron Murray, probably, in my opinion, the best high school football player in Tampa Bay sports history, because he led Plant to a state championship. There was a time when Plant High School couldn't win anything. And Aaron Murray was a major, and Robert Weiner, the head coach, were major reasons why they turned that around. And Aaron Murray was the first quarterback to really, really get that done. So Aaron Murray has a long history of football in Florida, in the Southeastern Conference, in the Southeast period. We'll talk to him about why he went to Georgia, and while he had real family ties to Florida, how tough that decision was. We'll talk to him about that. We'll talk to him about the Vipers, all that kind of stuff. So I have to be honest with you. I had also hoped to have Bubba the Love Sponge tomorrow night. We did an interview with him today, and it was so good and so fascinating. I wasn't going to cut it up and just not do it justice. I'm going to air the whole thing next week. So tomorrow, Cam Brate, and we will have Bubba the Love Sponge next week. And we'll have Aaron Murray tomorrow. So, I mean, where else are you going to get a lineup like that?
I don't.
This is big time stuff. Big time stuff.
Absolutely. The Keck Show at 9 o'clock live on Bucs Report. Al, thanks a lot for your time here. The Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28. We'll see you tomorrow night, all right?
Don't say ifs and don't should all over yourself.
Okay, sounds good. There you go. Words to live by from the great Al Keck. Let's go out to the webheads here, read some more comments, and then we will get Rick Hughes. Stand by. I did not forget you. We'll get you on the evolution of sports talk television. And, of course, your phone call, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about here. So big day tomorrow. Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, Donovan Smith, and Coach BA. So we will have Mr. Joshua Cole Allen, and we will have as much sound as we can get. Haha, sounds good, brother. Best virtual edits video. How lame of you to say that. Matter of fact, tune in to these playoffs and see LeBron James choke again, right? Okay. Question of the year. But if we can put teams away, we won't have to worry about it. LeBron over Jordan. Peter, eat it. Not happening. Never happening. Matt Gay will be okay. Laugh my ass off. Johnny Dean. I tend to agree for the most part, but Bucs and kickers, Best virtual edits video, laughing like always. Matt Bryan is solid. Yes, dyslexic. All right, there you go. Dyslexia. Okay, there you go. And here's what you get. All right, there you go. Welcome to the Sports Web. All right, before the Chargers game in 95, Chris Berman referred to us as the Yucks on SportsCenter. Sapp and Brooks were watching, looked at each other and said, this stuff has to stop today. That's the difference between Sapp and McCoy. I already read that. BA, Coach Foot, and JPP had great things to say about Nelson today in the press conference. Nelson himself sounds like a guy who's ready to go and knows the expectations on him. I'm telling you, bet on Nelson. You will say, Peter Blake, you are correct about Anthony Nelson before this year is over with. I'm telling you, comparing JPP would be a better comparison for Simeon Rice. Gronk's looking good. Do you guys think he will last more than 12 games this year? That's the big time question mark with the multiple back injuries there, taking off the year. Will he be in football shape? We shall see. But I feel like they're going to preserve him, which is what our own Leo Haggerty has said for the postseason. So is he going to be the go-to guy? I'm not sure. But to discount him and think he's not going to be a part of this offense is completely insane. You have Evans, you have Godwin, you have Howard, and you have Tom Brady going to them. They'll find a chemistry together. They already have chemistry. Bruce Arians and this offense will figure out a way to get him involved. JPP is JPP. We won the game against San Diego Superchargers, by the way, and the culture was changed. It takes one game. It takes that one game to change the culture. It takes that one player to change the culture. That's why Al mentioned a Hardy Nickerson. You get a Hardy Nickerson over here, and then a Thomas Everett, and then free agents start to flow in, and they start to believe. And this team was never going after main free agents, but when you can get named guys like that at the time, it definitely helped this organization going forward. Let's see. John Franklin will make the roster, please. Mike Sover says after that, Chris Berman became a big supporter. I think Franklin is pretty much locked in. Ryan says, do you guys think Shady had one more year in him? Can he make a difference? Yes, not as a bell cow runner, but as a player who can offer his veteran experience to that running back room. You have a young player like a Ronald Jones who had 724 rushing yards last year, who can learn how to not only be a professional, but catch the ball better, get the intricacies, if you will, as a professional football player. And then on top of that, McCoy is still has somewhat of a burst, right? You're not going to give him a lot of carries, but when you give him those carries, you get him out in space. And because Brady has a propensity to throw the ball to his running backs, I feel like McCoy is definitely going to make an impact in some way, shape, or form. Are the Buffalo Bills finally going to be able to beat Brady this year in the Super Bowl? I don't know if the Buffalo Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl, but I tell you right now, the Bills are absolutely favorite to win the AFC East. With the Patriots and their question marks, with 8 players opting out, with the quarterback change and the Cam Newton, you would have to feel like that division is yours. My question is, can Josh Allen take it to the next level? Can he develop that chemistry with a Stephon Diggs? If he can, that defense is lights out. I like the Buffalo Bills, but I still have question marks about that young quarterback. Chris Berman was our athletic supporter. Big Bubba. Bubba, laugh out loud. That's going to be great. Laugh out loud. Gay is making the Pro Bowl. Save this message. Absolutely Shooter and Stash. Best virtual edits video. Laughing about that. Eric Scott needs to see my video from last offseason featuring Brooks and Sepp giving him the speech. Chris Berman is even in the video. Very good. I'm not saying that. Screw you. How about that? Yeah, how about that? Where is the video? I don't think I saw that one. Drop the video, Shooter. Let's see. One of my favorites. It's called Bucs, Not Yucks. You got this. Eric Scott says, I was surprised Gronk came back. Remember the reports that he couldn't get more than 10 minutes of sleep at night because of CTE. That's his 850 surgeries. But every time they said he was done, he came back, broke records. Never count the Gronk Meister out. Absolutely. And then also having some other things off the field, if you will, some medical enhancements, which is kind of escaping me right now. If the Bills do make the Super Bowl, they will lose to the Bucs, baby, says Shooter and Stash. And because no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, they won't be playing one in Tampa. All right, so without further ado, we're running a little bit late tonight, but that's okay. A lot of comments. Mr. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, welcome to the evolution of sports talk television, my friend. How you doing tonight?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and still, he's trying to make me say this, so I'm going to try to say it. Effervescent, okay?
There you go.
There you go. You want to troll me, that's what you get. Now, if you have a good call, and there's been some good calls tonight, I've kind of been slacking, here's what you get. Okay, so with that being said, Rob Rashute says Bucs, Not Yucks video, and absolutely Rick is laughing. I guess Best Virtual Edits video is laughing at you, Rick. I don't know.
That's pretty normal.
Yeah. So, Rick, a lot of calls tonight. Of course, let's start out with some of the main injuries. Gerald McCoy, one of your favorite players out there, is going to be hurt for the year. He ruptured his right quadriceps, first padded practice, just got done signing a 3-year, $18 million deal. I mean, what's the impact of him and the Cowboys? Cowboys had some big-time plans for this defensive tackle to solidify their defense. What do you say?
Yeah, lots of people have had plans for Gerald McCoy. Look, I I feel bad for him. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, I only feel so much bad for him. He's still going to bring in $18 million. And, at the end of the day, he didn't have such a bad year after all, did he? But I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of the feeling I've said it before. There's no, not one play. I can't think of one play in all the years that Gerald McCoy was a Buccaneer. I can't think of one. I have nothing to bring to the table about Gerald McCoy to say, I don't know. Dallas may not realize this, but there may not be much of a difference between whether he's injured and whether he's not. I mean, that if you can't name one play in all those years, not one sack.
I can't.
Not one sack.
Not one. Not something that's memorable at all. You look at Ndamukong Suh last year. I can name about 2, 3, 4 plays.
2 touchdowns.
Games.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The end of the Rams game. I can tell you right there. End of the Rams game just popped into my head. Nothing pops into my head with Gerald McCoy other than him in a robe, a samurai robe on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
And him, I mean, his big, the thing I know most about Gerald McCoy is that he complained about the fans disrespecting him.
Yep. That's it.
That was the biggest, but I do feel bad for him. It sucks. Nobody wants anybody to get hurt. I'd rather him go ahead and be ineffective on the field rather than being effective off the field.
Got to read these comments here. Let's see. Shooter and Stash, laugh out loud. I got to go to work on some more of my nonsense, boys. Thanks for doing the show. Absolutely. It's exactly what you were talking about. Thank you, Shooter. Johnny Dean, have a great night. Shooter and Stash, if you have not checked it out, and we're going to get him on here more.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're going to get Shooter on here more. Shooter and Stash, they do a great job with their animation on Tampa Bay sports from a very humorous perspective, if you will. All right, Jalen Hurd, the second-round draft pick, major knee injury to him. Already the 49ers are looking at, they signed J.J. Nelson, Tavon Austin, but they lost Deebo Samuel. What's the impact of the 49ers? I'm a little bit worried about this team. Tell you what, let's save that comment because we're going to go out to the phone lines. Johnny Dean, the professor, welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Mr. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats.
Yeah, I wanted to get this out about the Gerald McCoy thing because I know Rick wants to move on to his main topic of the night.
Sure, of course we do.
Gerald McCoy was a solid pass defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
He was not a splash player. He was just solid at his position. And as far as his Pro Bowls, he got into Pro Bowls because he was the best person on the team at the time. Period. And that was a crappy team.
Right.
So
I think that's fair.
Making Gerald McCoy out to be bigger than he was, he doesn't equal Simeon Rice.
No.
And Simeon Rice was not the best player on that team.
Yeah. I
I
agree.
So
I don't even know that I would call him solid. I'm sorry. I don't even know that I'd call him solid. If you're a solid player contributes.
Well,
I think it's best. Well,
Gerald McCoy contributed.
I mean, he had over 50 sacks in his career. So
he was injured a lot.
Yeah, he was. His best year was 2013, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we noticed it when he went off the field.
Sure.
So there's a contribution factor there.
Ooh.
I'm not going to just back.
Is that a word?
Run game. When you put him in the run game. Oh, okay. At the position he was picked, yeah, he can be bashed for that.
Mm-hmm.
He was picked, 4th overall?
Listen, if he didn't complain so much about the fans, I think it would be fine.
No, it wouldn't be fine because being picked 4th or 5th overall, you have to make a better contribution to the team than that. Okay?
Well, look, his biggest indictment, let's just be honest here. A lot of Bucs fans wanted Suh at the time. He went, I believe, number 1 or number 2 in that draft to the Lions.
He was one spot ahead of McCoy.
So it's 2. So you went 2 to the Lions, and of course, Bucs fans wanted him instead of McCoy.
We still got more touchdowns out of Suh.
Right. Huh?
I'm pretty sure it was 3 and 4 there.
Are you sure
Hill was
about that?
third and McCoy was fourth.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll have to check that out. But I just thought it was 2 and 3, but maybe I'm wrong. So, but
Either way, it doesn't matter. In the top 5, you've got to make
right.
impact,
He's a
not
franchise. He's a
contribution,
franchise
impact.
defensive tackle, and then on top of it, he's being compared to Warren Sapp. So
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
whether that's fair or not, that's the shadow he's in because that's the defensive tackle level you have on this team.
He just complained so much about the fans not respecting him, and he listened so much to the fans and acted like he was so mistreated by the fans and disrespected by the fans. But year after year after year, okay, if he has 50 sacks, it's amazing. None of them were when it mattered. None of them. I mean, how can you not remember one play by this guy?
I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. I cannot remember it. Johnny Dean, what else?
That was pretty much it. Except that if you ever noticed that after Gerald got a sack, the very next play that was a big play for the other team.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I definitely agree with you on that. So good stuff, Johnny Dean. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate it. Right.
Right.
All right. So I got to read this comment because somebody's trying to troll here. Y'all sound like women. Can we talk football? We are. So here you go.
Who's the one nagging?
I mean, who is nagging? Are we not talking about Gerald McCoy and the injury? We're not talking about Jalen Hurd and an injury, but you hear what you want to hear, so that's cool. Good stuff, Mike E.
And yet he's here.
And he's here.
So he's listening to women on the internet. Wrong site, buddy.
Well, he loves obviously women listening to them. That's why he's listening to us here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'm your host, Peter Blake. I don't know if I'm necessarily a good-looking woman on the Pro Football Edition on the Landry Football Network, along with Mr. Rick Hughes. Exactly. All right, let's go on to the webheads, read some of these comments, and then we'll get back to this. I feel like Gerald 101 or 2 and 3. Uncle Dwayne, this is a family affair. This would be my Uncle D. Great job, Peter H. Blake, for having on the best in the sportscaster industry, if I could talk. Al Keck, the legend of over 40 years, and thank you very much, Mr. Al Keck, for being there for my favorite nephew, Peter H. Blake, because he's really wonderful, young sportscaster. This is very grateful for you going to bat for him all the times and being the consummate gentleman that you are. Just thank you very much for always being there for our Peter H. Blake. Thank you very much, Uncle D. Michael Scott, who writes as much as my Uncle D. Hey, Peter, sorry I messed up on one comment. What I meant to say was tell me another team in the NFC South that has made the playoffs as much as New Orleans Saints and choked it absolutely away. And then I also forgot the Atlanta Dirty Nerds choked it away. So there you go. He says that. Best virtual edits video. Laughing. Call in there, Mike. You're ragging on a player that doesn't even play on this team. This is the Pro Football Edition. I don't know if you've heard, but he is on a pro football team. We are talking about it. And if it does relate to his career, I'm sorry to hurt your feelings. Go to your safe spot. There you go.
He's like a little crier there, isn't he?
Move on. I did move on, but I keep on going back to it because you keep on talking about it. So we have to talk about it. Peter, you were right. McCoy was drafted third, Stu second. There you go. See, don't mess with the best. Come on now.
That's right.
To say,
there you go.
My dad would be looking down on me right now, shaking his head. You got nothing. All right, let's move on to football because we haven't been talking enough. We talked about Jalen Hurd. Is that a big-time impact? Are you worried about that injury with them losing a Deebo Samuel already?
Am I worried about it? No. I mean, do I think it's going to impact the team? Probably, yes. You can't. You have to have depth. Young people right now, though, are not going to impact the league nearly as much this year as they do in most seasons. The reason being you don't have the reps. So I'm not sure what the impact was going to be of him anyway. Yes, he would have had an impact, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like a typical year. I really think the veterans are going to be all over it this year, and the rookies are. We're going to see a mess at the beginning with rookies. Do I think San Francisco is going to struggle because of this? Not just because of this, but partly like this as a contributing factor to them probably struggling more this year. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you on that. And I think the more pressure is on Jimmy Garoppolo, the more some of those whispers become, maybe an Aaron Rodgers could be out there, local guy. We'll see what happens. Another injury in the NFL, cornerback Robert Alford for the Arizona Cardinals out with a torn pec. So not necessarily starting out in the greatest terms for some of these teams. As I asked Al Keck tonight, do you feel like there could be some more injuries because of this schedule being as weird as it is? Guys not necessarily being in shape and also only having those 14 days of padded practice.
There are always injuries. There will be more. Yeah, there will be more.
Okay.
Yeah. This year, it's inevitable. There are going to be more, more struggles.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right. Let's go out to John Breach of CBSSportsLine.com. He was naming the top 23 coaches chasing their first Super Bowl, and he lists Bruce Arians as his number one candidate, and this is why. Arians has been a head coach for 7 seasons, and in each of those seasons, he's come up empty in the Super Bowl department. So to fix that problem, he brought in a secret weapon for 2020. Guess who it is? Tom Brady. If the Buccaneers are going to win their second Super Bowl in franchise history, this feels like the season where it could happen. I'll get back to that in a moment, but let's name the rest of the list. Number 2, Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers. Number 3, Frank Reich of the Indianapolis Colts. I'm telling you, I keep on getting on this bandwagon with the Colts. I feel like they can definitely do some damage in that AFC with a veteran-laden quarterback, improvements to the defense, and also to that running game. Number 4, Sean McVay of the Rams. I think the Rams are rebuilding, so I don't know. 5, Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills. Number 6, Bill O'Brien with the Texans. Don't know where he got that from. I don't feel like they're at all. 7, Mike Zimmer for the Vikings. Very good coach. Number 8, Matt LaFleur, Packers. Too much drama there. We'll get back to that in a moment. 9, Mike Vrabel of the Tennessee Titans. And number 10, that would be your favorite player, your favorite coach and favorite team, Dan Quinn of the Atlanta Falcons. Right about this? Arians should be listed number 1 because he has the best opportunity. And who on this list do you feel like 1 out of 10 you could not include? And who are they missing off of this list? A young coach who has never had a Super Bowl, or a coach who's chasing his first Super Bowl, if you will.
Well, let me say, I think once you get past 5, it's a mess. The one thing I would do is probably move Vrabel up. But anything after 5, I find kind of, I don't know. It's a mix of they're pretty good coaches who've had a little bit of success. I don't think that these are guys that are like, I mean, really, if Dan Quinn didn't win a Super Bowl ever, would you be shocked?
No, he shouldn't win a Super Bowl. You know why? Because he let his offensive coordinator get out of the game plan. All you had to do was run the ball instead of trying to shoot and pass the ball. And instead, you tried to pass the ball, you took sacks, and you lost the game.
It happened again with the same coach last year,
who was ranked 2nd in this list. Do you feel Kyle Shanahan can get it done with this defense? And now with some of the limited weapons that Garoppolo has on this team, can the running game carry them with that defense?
It's not whether the running game can carry them. It's whether at the key times Kyle Shanahan's going to let the running game carry them. I don't understand his coaching. He's phenomenal and horrible. There's nothing really in between. Could I see them going back to the Super Bowl? Probably not. If it happened, would I be really shocked? No. But if they win it, I just don't see him consistently. I have a hard time thinking. I mean, there's some guys who there's something mentally that happens, or something that triggers something that happens up there that you've heard the term "can't win the big one."
Mm-hmm.
At this point, he's put himself in that position. I mean, to where you've got to wonder. He can coach you in the playoffs, but you get to the big game and he just chokes. I think some coaches believe in their genius too much. They find themselves to be so smart that they think, well, I'm not going to do the thing that you really should do here because I'm smarter than that. They're going to expect me to be running the ball. So instead, I'm going to pass it because I'm a genius.
All right, now to JPP, because he had a presser today, and we're on with Rick from the Cheap Seats. New show coming out on September 13th. We're not sure about the time because I don't know how long that post-game edition of the Sports Web is going to be. And we'll have that announcement of where the location of that is going to be during the season. JPP had his presser today, and he says, let your pads do the talking. I know how those games are. They're a battle, talking about the Saints. That's what we're preparing ourselves for. There's no reason to talk at all. Let your pads do the talking. There you go, Cam Jordan. That's the way you handle the situation. JPP getting the last half. How do you feel about those comments?
Well, Cam Jordan needs attention. Obviously, Mama didn't hug him enough or something when he was growing up, so that's why he's talking. We all knew the kid on the schoolyard who couldn't shut up when he should. That's Cam Jordan. What do I think about JPP? Handled himself like the consummate professional. Walked in there, said what he had to say, and he pulled no punches. I mean, you notice the one thing that he said that caught my attention, and I was on the road driving all day. There was a lot of news I missed today. There were things that I wasn't able to catch, but the one thing I heard when I listened to his press conference that I thought was amazing was he said the Bucs did the right thing by getting another quarterback.
Yes, that was the eye-opening. Me. And he didn't use any words. He said, they're not necessarily, because they asked him, would you have come back if they didn't, if they would have changed the quarterback or not changed the quarterback? He said, not necessarily. I'm going to do my thing regardless of who the quarterback is or not, but I'm pretty sure they did the right thing and got a new quarterback. So
I found it to be all of the press conferences today.
Right.
There were several players who made comments that were a window into what the real thoughts were about the quarterbacking last year.
Yeah.
And nobody was dogging Winston, which this is what was great about it, is they all did it with professionalism. They all just talked about, listen, we're happy to have Brady. There's an obvious difference in what's happening. I liked how I forgot who it was. I'm sorry about this. I was listening in the car. Somebody was talking about how it was OJ Howard, I think, was talking about him coaching the players, how Brady is coaching the players as things go along, and how Brady is making sure that they're doing the things that they're, correctly, that they're supposed to do, running the routes correctly, doing everything correctly. And to me, when you look back and say, oh, all these interceptions weren't the fault of Jameis last year because these guys weren't running the right routes, look what you've got freaking happening right now. You got a guy who's teaching them how to run the right routes, who's instilling discipline in them and excellence. And you didn't have that last year. You didn't have a guy who was willing to instruct and coach and tell the people what to do. He didn't have that confidence. He didn't have that leadership. He didn't have whatever it was. But you've got a guy now who's bringing everything to another level. It's bringing excellence to every position. And that's what's so cool about bringing Brady in, is he's brought an entire, we talk, you hear the term culture change a lot. This is it. You heard it today. You heard culture change today. All the players talking about how he's coaching, he's demanding excellent. Everybody's trying to impress Brady or live up to what Brady's expectations are. Everybody's pulling this. Let me tell you something. That's the sea change here. That's where you're going to see a difference in the record. It's not going to be his completions. It's not going to be how strong his arm is. It's not going to be how many touchdowns he throws. It's going to be the overall excellence of this franchise. And I'm guaranteeing you it happens in the front office as well. The overall excellence of this franchise, because Brady demands it and no one wants to let him down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the Brady effect. That truly is the Brady effect. All right. Every dog has a day once in a while, Peter. Laugh out loud, Johnny Dean. Rojo, my starter, Luke Neal, got him right. Michael Scott says, hey, Peter, you know what's crazy about the situation? I wouldn't wish the coronavirus on nobody, but if you think about it, the people down in New Orleans is who the coronavirus is going to affect the most, especially if they're able to do Mardi Gras nights. I think they got that situation under control. And again, it comes down to the trust of the team and the football players and the veteran leadership that they have. I'm dying laughing. You're all ragging on Mikey E. Can't say McCoy wasn't a contributor, like it or not. He was a cornerstone during some rough years. He was huge in the community, absolutely huge in the community, and won't deny that. Cornerstone, he was expected to be, during his career, 2013, that was his best year. Was he a cornerstone? I don't know. I get what you're saying, though. Best Virtual Edits Video, Cheap Seats doesn't agree, Dylan. Absolutely doesn't. How do you feel about ITR? I feel like he did fine in Tampa. We didn't win nothing with him, but he padded his stats and had a solid career here.
Best Virtual Edits always says things like Rick doesn't agree. Rick doesn't agree. Pick up the phone and call in. We're waiting for you right now. Pick up the phone and call in. Let's talk about it. Best Virtual Edits Video. Let's talk about this. Okay. Convince me. I'll listen. I'll shut up and I'll listen. Convince me that Gerald McCoy was something special. I promise you I will listen. I want to hear plays that I want to hear specifics, but come on. I mean, I love reading your comments. You're one of the people I look forward to reading the comments from, but call up and convince me.
Absolutely. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, your pro football edition on the Landry Football Network, brought to you by mycannabiscard.com. Again, mycannabiscard.com for all your medical marijuana needs. Tell them the Sports Web and Peter Blake sent you. Go for it.
I'd like to bring up something also about Brady.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation and I wrote an article about this. The conversation about Brady is, I think there's a lot of hype regarding Brady coming to the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think, I mean, we hear how many people make comments like, oh, yeah, but if Brady's old and the offensive line and he's not going to be able to make it through the year. And that's, people act like this team is done if Brady is not the quarterback. I don't believe that. I don't. And everybody acts like you have to have the Super Bowl quarterback because Mahomes is flashy and fun and he won the Super Bowl last year. And you look at Lamar Jackson, you think you've got to have these flashy, great quarterbacks to make the Super Bowl. Let's look at the San Diego Chargers.
Well, let's hold that thought. Let's go out to the lines here. We got a call. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Rick Hughes. What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going, Peter? It's Chris again.
What's going on, Chris?
Hey, not much. I just wanted to respond to something that Rick said.
Okay.
Look, man, I just think it's overblown. I don't really think it's necessary for QBs to coach the players. You don't hear many of them doing it. You don't hear Russell Wilson instructing wide receivers or tight ends how to run routes, or Patrick Mahomes. And if Brady does it, that's fine. But I just don't think that's something that you should expect.
Well, it's a level. Chris, it's the level of experience that Brady has that he can instruct wide receivers and other guys. It helps out with the coaching staff because not only do you have a head coach and an offensive coordinator, but you have a coach on the field. Look at Peyton Manning. Would you say that experience wasn't necessary for that team to win games?
I mean, sure, it was necessary, but ultimately it wasn't Peyton Manning who won the Super Bowl that year.
Right.
By the defense.
Right, but he also put up some numbers in his first year, and then, of course, yes, but his coaching, the veteran leadership, you can't put a price on. I think that's where Rick and a lot of people are getting excited about because the Bucs haven't had that type of quarterback.
And I don't think Chris is wrong. I don't think you have to have a quarterback that leads that way. But I think this team needed it. This team has it. I think you have to be a leader. Russell Wilson is the leader. I think that this team lacked leadership last year. Now, Russell Wilson gets the people together in the offseason. They practice. They were doing their thing at the same time Brady was. I think what happens is there are different ways. Okay, Tony Dungy is a great head coach, very quiet. Can a quarterback be the same way? Sure. Yes. And I was about to go into the fact that you don't have to be a superstar quarterback. But what I'm saying is this organization needed a culture change. This organization needed something to be the impetus, the motivation to get them to demand excellence. And Tom Brady has been that. He's been the catalyst in this whole situation. Bruce Arians brought the team to a certain point, but from a player's voice, I cannot say anything other than you see it when you listen to these players talk. Tom Brady has had an impact.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Tom Brady has had an impact.
Right.
And I don't think that Jameis lacked leadership or didn't demand excellence.
It's different. It's different.
Honestly, I would have liked to have seen Jameis be more vocal about when a player, like you said, if he doesn't run the correct route.
They didn't even vote him captain.
But just let's think about that for a minute. You want him to be more vocal. Maybe that's not him, but maybe that was him. But even if he's more vocal, why should a Mike Evans or Chris Godwin take him seriously? Because Evans came into the league before him. And I'm not saying, young quarterbacks can't have that. But when you have the type of body of work and the resume out there, those players are going to have to be accountable because of Brady's rings, because of his excellence. So as much as a lot of fans out there and you wanted Jameis to be more vocal and take control, he just didn't have the resume or the body of work to do that.
When he was vocal, he was a little wild with it. The whole eat the W's, the whole, I mean, it might not have been, him being vocal might not have been the best option. I'm not trying to dog Jameis. I'm trying to talk positively about Brady. And there's a difference here. Okay, to say that this team got better because Brady came here, to say that there was a lacking element that Brady brings, and it was a good move to bring in a different quarterback, doesn't mean I hate Jameis Winston. I hope the guy does well. I wanted him to come. I was not a Jameis hater. I wanted him here in Tampa. I wanted that for the Buccaneers. He was the guy that I wanted them to draft, not Mariota. I was just so sick of the same conversation after every freaking game about the interceptions. He did it again. Well, they weren't his fault. Well, this one was his fault. Well, what about this one that got dropped? Some of them were his fault. Well, I don't think it was his fault. No matter how you slice it, there were just way too many mistakes and bad decisions. And that's where I think the difference came. And my point here was not to talk about Winston. My point was to talk about Brady. Is that you've added an element that has brought excellence to this franchise, period. And whether there are some people who act like leaders, and there are some people who are leaders. Jameis emulated leaders. Jameis, I believe, now I may be wrong on this. I absolutely know that I may be wrong on this. I've never met the man. He seems to me like someone who says all of the right things, but people still just don't follow. And maybe they did in college, but at the pro level, there's a gravitas.
It's a good word. That's a good word.
Yeah, there's a heft to him, to what he says. I always think of in a boat, ballast in a boat. It's the weight that a boat has that keeps it steady when the waves are coming. You've got to have the right amount of ballast, not too much or it'll sink, not too little or it'll get tossed around on the waves. I don't think Jameis had the right amount of ballast all the time. Brady, you're not going to shake him. 28-3 proves that. Mm-hmm. And I just think you've brought in an element that has spread. It's an infection of excellence within the franchise. And that's what I think is what you're seeing happen. The front office is trying to be good enough for Brady. Trying to show that excellence. The coaching staff wants to be excellent for Brady. The players want to be excellent for Brady. With Jameis, you hoped he could lead you to excellence, but you're not hoping Brady can lead you to excellence. You know he can lead you to excellence. You know he will be excellent himself, and you're just trying to keep up, and that's where the difference lies.
Make sense?
Yeah, sort of. I got what you're saying.
Okay, what else, Chris?
And I don't think Chris is wrong that you don't have to be a
no. I think
they're different styles
into what you want to talk about when we get to it, but it's a very interesting subject here, Chris. So I tell you what, go ahead and think about what you're gonna say next. Go ahead and call back if you want to. We're about to talk about something that may be a little bit controversial to some people. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. All right.
All right, have a good night.
All right,
Thanks,
good stuff. Like I said, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. What you're saying is, and you have your latest article on Bucs Report. What is it about? It's about
whether Brady is necessary for the team to win. Whether he has to be the quarterback for the team to win. And you don't have to have an excellent quarterback to go to the Super Bowl. Think about, I was going to talk about San Diego Chargers, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the San Diego Chargers, they've been to one Super Bowl. Who was the quarterback in that Super Bowl? Was it Dan Fouts?
No, it was Stan Humphries.
It was who? Stan Humphries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean,
who I believe at the time, and I'm not so sure about this, but I'm pretty sure that he had some stint with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He did, briefly. He absolutely did.
There you go.
Craig Morton took the Cowboys to 2 Super Bowls, and then they replaced him with Roger Staubach because they needed a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joe Kapp took the Vikings. There are so many examples of quarterbacks. David Woodley took the Dolphins to the Super Bowl. There are so many examples of quarterbacks who can get you there if the team around them is excellent. This team, if there are no injuries, I mean, sure, more injuries to the team could be a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's not a rash of injuries, if things continue to fall in place like they have for this team, everything has fallen in place for this team. I've never seen anything like it. What's the opposite of snake bit? Because, I mean, if there's any way that luck can break your way, it's happened with the Buccaneers this year. And we're so used to the exact opposite of that. But there are so many quarterbacks who are pretty good quarterbacks. They're okay. They're very forgettable. They still led their team. Brad Johnson was not a great quarterback. I know we love him in Tampa, and it's like sacrilege to say anything like Brad Johnson's not the greatest ever. Okay, but the bottom line is he had a pretty good career. It was pedestrian to slightly above his whole career until he came to this team. And what happened? All the pieces, everything started to work. Think of gears, think of a watch, all the gears working, everything functioning properly. All of a sudden, Brad Johnson is a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
All you need with an excellent team is somebody who's not going to screw up.
Can't buy
it. You've seen it.
I can't buy it. And I'll tell you why I can't buy it. Because Bucs fans, and I've heard people say this before. I heard people say this when Lovie Smith came in and they had Mike Glennon or they had the greatness of Josh McCown. They said, oh, well, the weapons are good enough. Well, guess what? The defense.
They weren't, though.
Wait. Now, if you're going to talk about this, you're talking about quarterbacks in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now, I'll give you Trent Dilfer because Trent Dilfer is a DL quarterback. But in order for you to have a type of quarterback that doesn't make mistakes, like a Ryan Tannehill, you have to have a phenomenal defense and you have to have a phenomenal running game. Do the Bucs have all that? That's a big-time question. So if Tom Brady did go out with the injury, you have to depend on a Blaine Gabbert. According to your article and to this poll from our own Nick Citro, 80% of fans think that they would definitely need a Tom Brady Tell you what, let's go out to the phone line because I know who wants to talk about this.
I bet I can guess on this one.
Johnny Dean, the professor, go for it.
Joe Flacco is second to Tom Brady in playoff wins.
13 touchdowns. Wait a minute. 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in that postseason. Whenever he says, well, was this the defense? No. Joe Flacco played like Joe Montana in that postseason. Brad Johnson, 22-6. Not too shabby. Ryan Tannehill, the same type of numbers. The difference
I'm
is
not talking about not too shabby. I'm talking about will you consider Joe Flacco a great quarterback?
During that postseason, yes, he was.
Well, no, you're okay. You're taking a snippet. Okay, what if Blaine Gabbert is great during a postseason? This is what happened.
When has he ever been great, guys?
When was Joe Flacco great?
Joe Flacco was decent. He was not Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert is decent. He's never been on a decent team.
He's a backup for a reason now. Come on, stop playing.
And Joe Flacco?
Like that, I didn't call in about Blaine Gabbert. I called in about the whole. It doesn't take a great quarterback to win a Super Bowl because there's only been one great quarterback win a Super Bowl in the last, besides Peyton Manning.
Russell Wilson wasn't a great quarterback.
He's a really good quarterback. He's really good.
Wait a minute now. Hold on. Russell.
You got me with Russell.
I got you again.
Oh, wow. He won one. No, he won one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. This is like saying this is like the argument. This is Aaron Rodgers all over again. Here we go. Aaron Rodgers, who's really done one thing. He's had a great record, but never wins the Super Bowl. Never takes it the rest of the way.
He's not a great quarterback. Aaron Rodgers not a great quarterback. What about
correct?
What about Ben Roethlisberger? Is he a great quarterback?
Do I think he's a great quarterback?
He's a great quarterback.
I think he was when he was younger.
He won 2 Super Bowls, didn't he?
Yeah, when he was younger, he was a great quarterback. He's been beat up. He's not the same guy he was.
I guess where you're defining this is what you're trying to tell me is you can win with any quarterback with the weapons you have. And
no.
Okay,
I'm not saying you can win with any quarterback.
Okay.
I'm saying you have to have an excellent team. Okay. Yes, you have to have an excellent defense. Do I believe the Buccaneers? You've sat here and said you think top 5 defense.
I think they could be absolutely. With
okay, so that's all. So if they're a top 5 defense, like you had said, okay, your words, and the offense is look at the offense. It's so crazy stacked.
Do they have a running game?
Here's hoping they have a running game. I'm with you. But I'm not saying Blaine Gabbert is the answer. Oh my God, isn't it great that we have Blaine Gabbert? This is where you take the argument to a different level. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if Tom Brady goes down, you have a brilliant head coach. You have an organization that is driven to win the Super Bowl this year. You have a stacked roster on both sides of the ball. Okay, you talk about everybody, everything. The offensive line is better. The running backs are better. The receiving, the tight ends. We got Gronkowski. You've added weapons at wide receiver. You have all of this, and you added weapons on defense. So you've got JPP for a whole year.
Okay. So Rick,
do I think Gabbert can navigate it, and do I think that the team can still get there? It's not the ideal. I'm not trying to draw a comparison between the two, but I think you cannot count out. The same thing happened in New England where some quarterbacks that weren't that great still got them to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Okay.
I get that, but the quarterbacks you've been naming are all they're not in this time period. They haven't been in this. Flacco had again. I don't think Joe Flacco is that bad of a quarterback. I think he's good. I don't think he's great. But 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
You've got to stop using that because that's what happened once he got in the playoffs. I'm saying Gabbert can get you in the playoffs. He wasn't good that year. Flacco was not good that year.
But to compare Joe Flacco, who's been a starter in this league almost every time in his career, to a Blaine Gabbert, and then you're saying, well, Blaine Gabbert's never gotten an opportunity.
I didn't compare the two. You said name a quarterback that wasn't great, that made it to the Super Bowl. You got it. We did.
So Tom Brady, how many Super Bowls did he win? Is he not a great quarterback?
Of course he is. I'm not saying great quarterbacks can't win a Super Bowl.
Okay.
What does that? That doesn't prove anything. But I can. How you want me to sit here and say Dan Fouts never won one, so therefore, no, you can't. You can't. Dan Fouts never won one. Philip Rivers, who you think all of a sudden Philip Rivers is going to lead the Indianapolis Colts to beat Lamar Jackson and Baltimore, to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You think all of a sudden this is going to happen? I mean,
but the difference between Ryan Tannehill is for the Tennessee Titans, because I don't think he's a great quarterback. He's paid as one.
Could he get him there?
A running game? Yes, but his running game got him there, and his defense got him there.
And you don't think that can happen this season in Tampa?
I don't know about the running game.
Hey,
I don't know. Yes. Hello, Johnny. Johnny.
Sorry, we're having fun.
Go ahead.
Now, okay, you both actually have a point, but we're talking about the Bucs right now. Brady goes down. All right. First off, let me get this straight. I've been on record saying that we're one draft away from a Super Bowl. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now, in Rick's point, if we have a team with a running game with all those pieces in place, then no, an average quarterback could get us there. Yes. Now, if in this year, if by God, we can compete with 8 other teams that are Super Bowl playoff bound too, then and match up comparatively with them. And that's what you guys got to look at. You guys don't focus on just the Bucs. You got to focus on the teams.
No, I agree.
I'm focusing on the teams. I've seen Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but what did they have?
And then, by some unearthly way, we do get to the Super Bowl. Then Brady would be essential because this team isn't built yet to pound it through you.
Correct.
This isn't the fully built team that would support that.
And maybe
Brady
maybe Blaine Gabbert could get you to the playoffs, but what is he going to do afterwards? Is he going to be able to get you over the top? I just
probably not.
Right.
Probably not. Okay.
So
I think Blaine
that's
Gabbert could do it because then we wouldn't have to rely on him. He could be our version of Trent Dilfer.
I guess.
I think what you're hearing from me is that I think if Blaine Gabbert's in there, they're fine. I'm not saying that.
Okay, then what are you saying?
I'm saying don't throw in the towel should Blaine Gabbert have to get under center for whatever reason. Don't do that because you don't know. It's happened before many times.
But I'm telling you right now, you have to have a lockdown defense. And in this day and age, with the way quarterbacks are so essential, that's why they're getting paid big time money. You have to have a lockdown defense that's going to be able to lock the team down. And it's tough to do that in this day and age because offenses are so complex and because quarterbacks are so athletic. So yes, you may be right to a certain degree with you being able to get there and maybe win a couple playoff games, but to win a Super Bowl for a quarterback to make all those throws, you not only have to have a lockdown defense, you have to have a running game. And if you have a quarterback that basically is a game manager, I think he only gets you so far. That's Alex Smith to me. That's what I think of.
Brad Johnson.
Well, Brad Johnson was 22-6. I mean, and he was a Pro Bowl quarterback
because of the defense. He was a game manager.
How many years ago was that, Rick?
It was 17, right? 17 years ago.
Okay, the game has changed a little bit, has it not?
Sure.
Okay. I mean, that's the point.
So
you don't know the game has changed? The game has changed.
I keep saying the same system winning the Super Bowl, defense and running game.
Defense and running game, but still you have to have a quarterback that can make all the throws.
When, like Al said earlier, the season plays out one way, the playoffs play out another.
That's
how
why.
Shocked would you be if Tennessee went to the Super Bowl?
Not shocked at all. I'll tell you why. I wouldn't have been shocked last year if they went. You know why? Because he was basically handing off to Derrick Henry. It wasn't Ryan Tannehill. He had to make some throws. He could make those throws.
Rick's point right there.
Okay.
You're making my point.
But you're also saying that you're discounting the fact that the game has not changed. That doesn't always
work. I'm not.
And it hasn't worked because Ryan Tannehill only got them so far. He got them to the playoffs. After that,
correct,
they weren't able to overcome, even with that defense, a great quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes. So you're making my point also.
No, but I asked you, is it impossible? I mean, would you be shocked? And you said no. You wouldn't be shocked.
Wouldn't be shocked, but I think it would be tough in this day and age.
Sure, yes.
Okay, that's my point.
Yeah, I never said otherwise. I didn't say it was going to be easy. I didn't say, oh, wow, this is ideal. I didn't say any of that.
The whole idea of having a DLG quarterback, yes, that's certainly possible. You got to have a quarterback that first is committed to taking care of the ball. And you're asking a guy to take care of the ball. And remember, you have wide receivers that are running deep. You also have a Bruce Arians offense that wants to go downtown. So essentially, I'm not sure if a guy who's just a game manager is going to be able to be a success in this offense because this offense is so risky. So
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing.
I'm not sure either.
Good conversation to have. I could definitely think, but I feel like from 2003 now, defensively, it's changed. It's very, very tough to shut down a great quarterback. Patrick Mahomes showed that. The San Francisco 49ers had that team locked down and went away from their game plan. And as soon as they did, what happens? A great quarterback. They have a running game, but really it was a great quarterback making plays out of the pocket to get it to Tyreek Hill and a little bit of defense. Anything else, Johnny Dean?
They actually had them shut down again. If Kyle Shanahan had just coached a decent second half, they would have won. And who would be the Super Bowl winning quarterback right now?
Well, it'll be Jimmy Garoppolo. But then again, if Jimmy Garoppolo can make that throw in the 2 minutes, if he's a great quarterback, if that's Tom Brady, he makes that throw in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's better to have a great quarterback.
Right.
I don't think anybody's disputing that.
Right. I mean, my thing is, I get what you're saying, though. I get it. I've always had a debate with people all the time about, well, you really don't need a great Greek. It's like the whole thing. Well, you really don't need a great running back. Well, how many running backs have won? Well, come on. Marshawn Lynch is pretty good. He was a part of the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, he was a part of Russell Wilson, too, in that team. So did he help out? Absolutely. You have to have, at the end of the day, when everybody says a great quarterback, you have to have an overall great team.
That's what I was saying.
Okay. That's fair enough.
That's exactly
that point.
I think we came to a consensus.
I think we came to some definitely consensus here that you have to have a great team around that quarterback. But great quarterbacks can make a difference, especially at this day and age. I'm just not sure how much a DLG. But again, to your point, the quarterbacks last year, Jimmy Garoppolo, is he considered a great quarterback? No. Maybe a good quarterback? Right? But you had the
yet that's two of the four that were in the championship games, and one of those games could have definitely gone differently. So I mean, it's at least, if it were to happen, I'm still watching the games. I'm still watching what's happening with Tampa and rooting and with hope.
Yeah.
Thinking, they might be able to win this game. The team can win the game, not the quarterback.
But there are
Brady can win the game.
Yeah, Brady can win the game, definitely, to a certain degree. It's not like Brady's done it all by himself either. To be fair, he's had a top
offense.
Top 10. He's had a top 10 defense.
Yeah, every year.
So again, the whole getting into the quarter, you have to have a great quarterback, but overall, you have to also have a great team. Can it happen? Yes, it can. Do I want it to happen? No, I don't. All right, Johnny Dean, anything else?
One more thing, man. This team is invested heavily in the skill players, and that makes it look great.
Sure.
And once those skill, you still have to have the team built around it.
Sure.
And we still have some positions to fill to compete with other teams like that.
Right.
I mean, all right, the Ravens are ranked number one because of what they've got on that field. The defense, they got one of the best secondary in the league. They got probably the best defensive line, unless it's ours, in the league. And they got a great linebacking core. And they improved that during the draft this year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, their wide receivers, but their tight ends are great. And they got a great quarterback.
Sure.
And they got a great backup quarterback. And they got a great quarterback behind him. So who knows what's going to happen this year with the Ravens. That's why they're ranked so high. And
my mind is slipping. Who is the Ravens' backup quarterback?
RG3. He can run the same system.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
true.
can.
They know RG3 well. They're the one that took him out of the game.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Exactly. Good stuff. Good stuff, Johnny Dean. Thanks a lot. We got to get out to the web heads, read some of these comments here from these guys. All right.
later, guys.
Later. All right. We got to read them. Some of these comments, not neglect them. It's a good debate. We could definitely have this all day long.
Yeah.
I'll have it all day long with you. I'll do the same
Yeah.
thing with my friend. He was like, he told me for years, like, you don't need a great quarterback. Like some people say, you don't need to draft a guy number one. And maybe you don't, because Nick Foles, you could throw him in there. Is he a great quarterback? At the time, he was. He got hot. But is he a great quarterback overall? Probably not. All right, let's go out to the web heads here. Read these comments, and then we will definitely end this show because it's been a great one with the great Al Keck and, of course, the great Rick Hughes. I love doing shows with this guy. We debate. We go back and forth. It's respectful. He makes me think about things. I make him think about things, hopefully football things. You guys, before talking about women, I don't know what you were talking about. Okay, let's see here. Let me see if I can get somebody on here. It's not working necessarily. I don't know why, so hold on a sec.
I'm thinking.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
Yep. I feel like he did fine in Tampa, talking about McCoy. We didn't win nothing with him here, but he padded his stats. He had a solid career here. I'm really into the development of Anthony Nelson. Hopefully he could be the next Ryan Kerrigan. That's a good comparison. Johnny Dean, they say Anthony Nelson was dropping back in coverage. He's that athletic. I'm telling you, stop sleeping on Nelson. Don't do it. He was. Fine is a good way to describe it. Who do you guys think has the job behind Nelson, though? Kazi and Daniels is in that conversation. They're going to look at a lot of guys. Chappelle Russell, their 7th-round pick, a Divinity Jr. There's plenty of candidates there they're going to have an opportunity to look at. Our DT is loaded now. Of course, we didn't get a chance to talk about that. Kyle Love, who was former Carolina Panther, former New England Patriot, he is signed. So you have Sue Vea, Nuches Roches, Kyle Love. Roches is underrated. Best virtual edits video, much like Haig being in the last line of defense. Decent depth on the O-line. I feel they may have a big drop-off behind Nelson. I agree with JPP. I think both the Bucs and Jameis both needed a fresh start. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing.
Agreed.
We have Josh Wells, 2 on the O-line. Josh Wells, yeah. Definitely feeling better about the D-line. Josh Wells is a horrible as a starter. If someone goes down, he's barely serviceable as a rotation. JPP never said anything about Winston, about fresh start. He said they made their choice, and he was rolling anywhere it was. We never did. We never said that.
That's not correct. That's not what he just said is not right. He said they made the right choice by making a change at quarterback.
That's it.
That's specifically what he said.
Let's see. Hey, Peter, I know Jason Pierre-Paul said that was made the right move by getting Tom Brady. Getting another quarterback, it sounds like mine. Yes, he believes that we made the right move with Tom Brady's situation. 30 for 30 with Jameis Winston. Josh Wells played solid in Detroit. Okay, at least the D-line has some bodies to work with, but the O-line is in bad shape behind the starters.
Well, I wish Johnny was still here because I would have asked him because he's always crying. You know, Johnny Dean always crying about depth.
Yes, absolutely.
And it seems like this team is starting to put some depth pieces together.
I agree. He's saying about the offensive line. Bucs don't invest in the trenches. Backups in the trenches. Not saying he was something special, but who else was a cornerstone of those teams? Who else really pops out? Not trying to beat a dead horse here. I don't know. Levante David. Can't have too many.
Mic drop. Mic drop. Peter walks away.
More personnel is holding back. Dylan, you were right. Light has to replace all the previous failures that the other losers brought in. Not an easy task, but he is hit on enough to put the Bucs on the radar for a Super Bowl watch.
Right.
Arian saved him. Eric Scott says Devontae Adams was interviewed by Brian Baldigger and said Rodgers tells him how he wants to run his routes all the time. Great quarterbacks do that because they've been around the block. Most definitely, JPP was the leader of the Bucs last year. Arian saves him, and everyone around one Buck knows it. Arian saved Light. I think Light closed on Arians, and that's why Light kept his job.
Light saved Light with Arians.
Right. Arians would not be in Tampa with no Light, but you wouldn't have Bruce Arians without Light. So what's the point? If Light wasn't here, Arians wouldn't be here.
Horse.
Correct. Yes, best virtual edits. Light needed Arians to come here more than anything. Arians is Light's first head coaching hire, and that is how it's supposed to work.
That's right, Johnny Dean. That is right.
Absolutely. Yep, we aren't here today without Light. No, we aren't here today without Arians is a difference. I think both of those guys corresponding. Give credit to where credit is due. Arians is not making a trade for JPP. Light is. Light is the one going after Shaq Barrett. Now, does Arians have some say in personnel? Absolutely he does. But to say Light had nothing to do with it, it's just Bruce Arians, that's unfair. You can't have it both ways.
People have a hard time changing course direction. What happens is if Jason Light, I mean, there were reasons to be critical the first few years, but he's put together a Super Bowl roster, and maybe you need to just be willing to step back and change course on your thoughts regarding Jason Light because of what he's done. I get it. You have reasonable criticisms from the first few years, but grow up and learn to change, to make a course direction and go, hey, wow, he surprised me. He's better than I thought. Good job. It doesn't have to be, he's still wrong, and I'm going to find some angle and some way to make it that way.
Right.
Sometimes it's okay to change course.
It is. And look, Light has definitely missed on some picks, right? He's missed on some first-round picks. He's missed on some second- and third-round picks. We've talked about it. But also, if you're going to be fair, talk about all the moves he's made to make this team a Super Bowl contender.
How did this roster get to be what it is right now? Who was the general manager?
Right.
Who was it? Suck it up and like him.
That's
if
it.
You're a Buccaneers fan, you might as well like the guy because he built your freaking roster.
Bengals will pick number 1 in the next draft. Dylan says, but we don't have Arians without Light, and we aren't here today without Arians. But you also, if you don't have Light, you don't have Mike Evans, and you don't have some of the pieces that you have. So
it's amazing.
Having a smarter quarterback, Johnny Dean says the Glazers finally figuring out how the system works is why we are here.
That's right.
Arians was the missing piece, night and day. Glazers like Light make the hire. They did exactly, which they didn't let him do. You need a head coach. You absolutely do. No, but it helps a lot. No Brady, no Gronk, no Brady effect. Dylan, I assume his comment about making the right decision was more about Brady than it was about Jameis. I think change will be good for both sides. Why do
I think he's right, but I Dylan is correct in the sense that he was talking about Brady, but he didn't say that the Buccaneers made the right move bringing in Tom Brady. He specifically said they made the right move by making a change at quarterback.
Exactly. The way he said it.
Right.
That's what you have.
I'm going to see. I love this phrase. Stop seeing what you believe and go ahead and believe what you see.
It's good. I like that. This is by far the best Buccaneers team front to back. Both sides of the ball we have had, period. Jameis 101 says Jameis is happy in New Orleans. I mean, he's a backup behind Drew Brees. Great.
Good for him.
Happy. Good. And
Good for him.
I hope he does well, and I think he will do well, but he'll get an opportunity to learn under a Drew Brees, which, once again, veteran experience you can't put a price on, and a Sean Payton, and he may be just better off in New Orleans. As bad as it sounds, and as terrible as it may be for some Bucs fans, if he's successful, that's the way sometimes it's going to go. That's the way you have to accept it.
Go back to the last comment.
Yeah. So is Rick saying Blaine Gabbert can be our Nick Foles, or is he saying we didn't need Brady in the first place necessarily? I'm confused because no Brady, no Gronk, and probably no Shady.
No, I'm not saying we didn't need Brady in the first place.
Right.
I'm saying break glass in case of emergency, okay? God forbid something goes wrong. Don't jump ship.
Can we not say anything? Can we just let's go ahead and do that. Let's not say anything's going to go wrong in 2020 anymore. I've had enough of things going wrong. Things are going right for the Bucs.
Everything has gone right for the Bucs. It's insane how much is going right.
Right, exactly. All right. Justin, this team stays together. We will win the next 2 to 3 Super Bowls. Eric, what is Rick's bottom line? I'm so confused. He already told you. Yes, we do. We are stacked.
Yes.
Average 40 points per game. Laugh out loud. Chris says, nope, if Gabbert is in there, the Bucs are doomed. So Rick is saying Gabbert. Okay, we read that. Justin, why are you talking about a backup quarterback? Because you want to talk about a backup quarterback. You just mentioned it, so we had to do it. I'm so confused right now. Nick Foles, Flacco, 59% completion, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Without that defense, Ravens don't get the Super Bowl, but without Flacco's performance in the postseason, your offense doesn't go where it goes.
Without the mistakes. That's basically what these stats are saying.
Right.
If you don't make the mistakes, then you can do well even with an okay quarterback. We beat this to death, haven't we?
We have. Certainly possible. Jimmy G, 69%, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Great defense, run game as well. KC didn't have a lockdown defense. No, they didn't, but they had a great quarterback. True. Eric Scott, so you have to have a good team to win a Super Bowl. Hot take. Well, obviously, you liked it. So there you go. I just love people trolling tonight. We beat the Saints week 1 in New Orleans. NFL will put on notice. Laugh out loud. I love you guys. Dylan, from 2010 to 2016, McCoy was a cornerstone. 100% Levante David was as well. But in that time frame, when you talked about the Bucs, you were talking about Gerald McCoy. You were talking about also one of the worst defenses in all Bucs period. What did you ever do or accomplish? I
don't even know what that
love
was.
this team. I'm pumped. Chance of Barrett leaving for free agency, highly unlikely, especially if he duplicates that year. I feel like the Bucs organization will take care of him. And yet Dylan, Casey, Levante David has constantly been more of an impactful player in that time span. Exactly. Did the Bucs really need Gronk? Seems more luxury than need. You will find out the reason why they needed Gronk in the first place. Stop with the luxury. It's always good to have luxury. We have that here on the Sports Web with Mr. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. Go ahead and promote yourself, my friend.
Okay, you can get me on Twitter at cheapseats_live, on Facebook at cheapseats.live. If you really want to find whatever, if you can't remember the links, just go to www.cheapseats.live. Instead of .com. Just do that, and you can find all my links there and all the information and everything there. Get a hold of me. Talk to me. September 13th. Be there for the first Cheap Seats live show.
All right, good stuff. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. Thanks a lot for your time on the evolution of sports talk.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the conversation.
All right, absolutely great debate. I love debate. So tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, we'll have the great Al Keck show. He'll have Aaron Murray and, of course, Cam Brate. And then at 10 o'clock, we will have your Bucs edition, which is sort of like your Sports Web edition. So definitely get on the phone lines and do 3 things for me on this Monday night, early Tuesday morning. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night and see you tomorrow night on the evolution of Sports Talk Television on the Landry Football Network and Bucs Report. You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.